Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server co-location, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their #1 goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.
Welcome everyone. Today is the Monday, January 28, 2019 Selectmen's meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order, and I understand we have a scout troop who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us. Would the scout troop come right up in front and face the audience? And Sam, which
This is Pack 41,
Pack 41.
the Cub Scouts.
Wait a minute, something is different this year. All right,
Is it the
Please stand.
hairstyles? But you're supposed to
face the flag.
Flag's around here, though.
I know, you're looking for it. It's
Here
over
we go. Go right ahead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good job. Be seated. Breath of fresh air. Next on the agenda, we have a very important proclamation for No Guff Week. I don't know, how about,
I'll read it.
voila?
Okay. Proclamation. Whereas No Guff Day has been celebrated since 2001 at Falmouth High School, when Greg Gilbert and Doug Ribasol worked with students to find a proactive way to handle conflicts, came up with the phrase No Guff. Since Mr. Ribasol's tragic death that same year, No Guff has been celebrated in his remembrance. And whereas by taking the pledge and making a concerted effort to observe the No Guff mantra, community members work together and support each other in keeping a positive attitude and creating a positive environment. The No Guff pledge is, I will not speak, text, or post anything negative about anyone for an entire day. And whereas celebrating No Guff can raise awareness, change the environment, and help people feel better about themselves and others by discouraging negative remarks, put-downs, and bullying. And whereas the town of Falmouth is a No Guff community, celebrations and observations are planned throughout the week. Falmouth citizens are encouraged to come up with creative ways to celebrate No Guff concept at home, at school, at work, and during leisure time. Now, therefore, we, Susan L. Moran, Doug Jones, Megan English Braga, Samuel H. Patterson, and Douglas C. Brown, as selectmen of the town of Falmouth, by authority vested in us, do hereby call upon citizens of Falmouth to participate in all activities related to the No Guff policy, and we proclaim January 28th through February 1st, 2019 No Guff Week.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I want to recognize Superintendent Lori Dorr is here, appreciate that. And I have a couple of questions about what No Guff Week. Is there anyone in the audience who's ready to speak? Come right up if you would.
Tracy Craig.
Ms. Krager, would you introduce your students? Now, I understand there's a video.
There is, yes. It's just been posted on social media. I'm Tracy Crago, Falmouth Volunteers in Public Schools. I have two seniors from Falmouth High School, Nathaniel Evans and Danielle Shea. Nathaniel is a two-time No Guff winner, and Danielle is a three-time No Guff winner. And voting closes Wednesday, so we might be adding some titles to their trophy closet. So, yeah, today was the kickoff over at Morse Pond. They did a really nice assembly. And some high school seniors came over to talk about their experiences, but I'd rather hear from the students at the high school rather than me.
Please.
So No Guff Week, it's almost like a spirit week. So every day we celebrate like a different theme. So today we wore like athletic wear to represent like staying strong and like, but No Guff Week is basically just like reminding everybody to be kind to one another and that like it's not hard to be kind to everybody, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, it's kind of expanded from not just like saying or texting things negative about someone, but also, you know, if someone's not doing too well, just doing a little something to make them a bit happier. So just small things go a long way, I guess.
You know, your leadership is so important, not just to everyone else in your school, but really to the town, and really is kind of something that's a national baseline that we should all pay a lot of attention to. Please.
I just heard so many positive comments about the whole concept of it, and, you know, treating people with respect, and there's really no need for anything else anyway. And especially people that are newcomers to the town, who, when they hear about it, they feel, you know, that's a great concept, and why don't we always do that? So it's nice.
Congratulations, Ms. Crago, thank you very much. We see you every year, and it just really is, you know, such a testament to all your hard work and everything you do with volunteers in schools, so thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Next, we have on the agenda Eagle Scout Matthew Kraus, Troop 42. Mr. Patterson.
Pleasure. Whereas Matthew Kraus of Boy Scout Troop 42 has successfully completed the qualifications for the rank of Eagle Scout, a rigorous and demanding process that teaches patience, perseverance, and teamwork, and requires strong goal setting. And Matthew Kraus met these challenges with aplomb and shall be recognized as an outstanding representative of his family, his troop, and Falmouth. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America, long acknowledged for building fine citizens, calls for a special court of honor to award its highest symbol of achievement to those who complete this rank. And Matthew Kraus is now an Eagle Scout with all its rank and privilege. Now therefore we, Susan L. Moran, Megan English Braga, Doug Jones, Samuel H. Patterson, and Douglas C. Brown, as Selectmen of the Town of Falmouth, do hereby declare and proclaim Sunday, February 24th, 2019, as Matthew Kraus Day throughout Falmouth. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the great seal of the Town of Falmouth to be affixed.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Kraus, would you come up and tell us about your project, please?
Sure thing. So in case you didn't hear, I'm Matthew Kraus. The project that I did was I ran around all of Falmouth and I GPSed the deceased firefighters' graves because both the Falmouth Fire Department and the Falmouth Genealogy Society had no record of this stuff. When I first did the project, I was given just a few paper maps that had probably about 70 or so names on them, and these maps were very inaccurate. And I went out and tried to solve this problem, make more accurate maps, and I worked with David Shea once I got all the GPS locations, and he gave me a KML file which we put on Google Earth, and now you can go onto the databases that the town actually has, and you can search up the project I did, I believe, and you can find all the information that they have, and it kind of shows you the exact GPS location of each and every 100 or so deceased firefighters that we have in this town.
Incredible, very important to the families, very important to the folks who are serving right now.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
I just think that's a really interesting project.
Thank
Good
you.
idea, thank you.
Congratulations, Eagle Scout.
Thank you.
Next, we have recognition, Ms. Braga.
So, I don't think there could be hardly anyone else that I could recognize this week other than Tommy Leonard, who left us, but certainly has left his mark. Reading his obituary, I had to say that I was, as much as I thought I knew about him, it was just the tip of the iceberg. We really felt that he was just our own, but when you read about his life, he sort of made similar impacts in basically every community that he ever lived in. He was one of those folks, we always hear people talk about how sometimes they'll get up and say, I'm a wash ashore, as if that's, somehow a bad thing. But Tommy was somebody who came here, he wasn't born here, and really made this community his own, created a tradition that we think of as something that's defining for who Falmouth is with the road race and just raising the profile of that to something that's an international event that people come from all over the world and get to see our community. And so certainly he will be missed, but he really, made the most of the time that he had, and really until the very end was such an ambassador for our town and was always someone who had a smile on his face, even when it was clear that maybe his health wasn't as great as it had been. Just a wonderful spirit, and it was just so fortunate for us to have him as part of our community. So just a moment of remembrance and recognition and appreciation for him.
Thank you. Very nice. Next we have on the agenda.
Just, I guess I'd like to add another one.
Please.
And it is sad when anyone passes in the town of Falmouth, and I don't know, it's always hard to choose
Yes.
which ones get recognized and which don't. But I guess I also want to recognize the passing of Mark Albert, and partly in recognition of the deceased firefighters that we just had with the Eagle Scout. That Mark Albert passed away this past week. He was a longtime firefighter. He was someone who was not a wash ashore, but was
home born and raised. He was one of Falmouth's absolute finest. He was a dedicated father, husband, one of those guys that coached every sport he could, do what he did when he was playing, and he will also be very sorely missed.
We'll have another moment of silence, please. And thank you to Mark for his service and to his family. Next, we have on the agenda an announcement with respect to a hazardous tree. Mr. Suso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have with us our tree warden, Jeremiah Pearson, as well as Deputy Public Works Director Peter McConerty. And Jeremiah had brought to my attention recently that there was a concern raised by the principal of Mullen Hall School regarding a tree which had died and was losing limbs. And there was a concern because of its proximity to the school, as well as to walking paths that students use regularly to access the school. And Jeremiah did pay a visit and made a recommendation regarding the condition of this tree. It is not a street tree, so it does not require a street tree hearing, as we've had with the Board of Selectmen in the past. But this affords us an opportunity to bring it to the board's attention. Jeremiah also, in working with the school principal, we also work with Superintendent Lori Dorr, who's with us, as has been noted, and Lori confirmed her concurrence with the condition of the tree and the fact that it may need to be removed. I don't know if Jeremiah might make a couple comments,
Please. And
Madam Chair?
I had a question on whether it'll be replaced as well, if you could address that. Welcome.
Well, good evening, Jeremiah Pearson, tree warden. Yes, it would be replaced. Maybe not in the same spot, but somewhere else on the school grounds. It is unfortunate. The tree was an American elm tree. It was probably part of the original plantings of Main Street. But once the Hall School got demoed and all the construction happened, construction damage happened to the roots and they paved over it. So it's unfortunate, but the tree is in massive decline. So it should be removed.
Sorry about that. Doug?
So that tree went through quite a bit of an extensive discussion about whether we're going to be able to save it when we did renovate the Mullen School. And it was a tree that was destined to come down at the time. And there were quite a few people and kids and the students who came forward and really fought to keep that tree. It is unfortunate that what's happened to it, there was really no way around it. But we did get, I think, about 10 or 12 more years out of the tree than we would if it had come down at that time.
Yeah, and we even actually in the past, I personally, we did different treatments to it to keep it alive for a little bit longer. And it's just now it's time.
Sam?
Yes, I actually was on the building committee for Mullen Hall, so I was part of that whole decision. And it's kind of unfortunate that when the parking lot that's adjacent to it was designed, they had the wrong elevations.
Mhm.
So we ended up excavating an extra 18 inches, which we had to fill back in.
Right.
Of course, that went down even deeper into that root ball. We kind of knew that it was doomed, but I'm just so pleased that it has graced that campus for 15 years beyond when
Yeah.
that happened. So its resilience has at least
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
been with us, and as we all know, nobody lives forever. So.
Nope. Any other questions?
I think that's it. This is just an announcement, so there's no action for the board to be taken, but appreciate you coming and fielding some questions. Appreciate that very much. Ms. Dorr, did you have any concerns that weren't raised?
No, actually, it came to the danger part because the limbs are dropping, and this is where kids...
May I ask you, because you do have a little bit of information and folks want to know, if you wouldn't mind just coming to the podium for a minute. I know you're probably not used to public speaking, but...
Plus, that's the only way our audience at home hears.
Oh, yes. So the concern really for us became that the limbs were falling because the tree is dead, and that's the drop-off and pickup for the children. And so it became a danger, actually beyond the fact that the tree had died. So we're sorry to see it go too.
And I'm sure you'll be working with the tree warden on the replacement.
Absolutely.
Thank
We'd
you
love
for
to.
coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Lori.
All right, next we have on the agenda public comment. It's an opportunity for someone to speak for 2 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. Please go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm here tonight to ask the board to take an even more active and a wider role in pushing energy efficiency and renewable energy in Falmouth. Number one, please start with the EDIC. I know the board has been supportive of what the EDIC is doing, and I'm asking that you publicize their solar energy project more. Put it before the eyes of the public more. Number two, the wastewater treatment facility. Install fuel cell equipment in there to use the biogas to generate electricity. Number three, with the school properties and other municipal properties that the Town Energy Committee Chair identified in a presentation to you, I think it was maybe 2 years ago now. Get going on installing solar panels in those locations. Number four, in all the planning and development in Falmouth that the town government is involved in, I mentioned this Saturday's meeting, involve the Town Energy Committee. Let them be the voice to advocate and show the way for energy efficiency and renewable energy there. Number five, the wind turbines. I know a lot of decisions have been made recently even by the board, some previously by others. Here's what I'd like to recommend for them. If no one wants to lease the town property where the town can operate the turbines, and if nobody wants to buy them to operate them, let them stand where they are. No judge has ordered them to be removed, just to cease operation. The turbines have been.
We're just about there, Grant.
I'm sorry, what?
We're there for the 2 minutes. Would you submit the rest?
Have I already got 2 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Would you mind submitting the rest maybe in an email?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Mr. Fuso? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on public comment? Seeing none, we'll move ahead to summary of actions under licenses. Approve an application for change of manager for the Paul Harney Golf Club at 74 Club Valley Drive in East Falmouth. Is there a representative here? Hi, welcome. Step right up, please. And just introduce yourself for the audience.
Hi, I'm Erin Harney Abbott. It's really not a new management. I've been working there 30 years and been the general manager for 20. It's just a change of name. It was in my dad's name before.
Well, appreciate that clarification. Are there, can't ask whether you've had experience. Obviously, you've got that in abundance. Is there any question from any member of the board?
No, sorry, we're going to have to change the manager. We've got.
Sam?
I've known the Harneys for a long time. Erin's mother lives just up the street from me and volunteered at the emergency room for probably 20 years or more.
40.
40.
40 years.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And I see Erin coming in and out all the time to go and visit her mom. And I know the family well, and I mean, I can't trust them any more than I do for
Thank you,
managing
Mr.
that facility.
Patterson.
I'm
and
going to
appreciate
take that as a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
The only thing I would add
Aye.
is,
One
I guess,
more?
just to clarify
Yep.
why we've requested that you come in for this interview. Because I think it was on the agenda 2 weeks ago, and since you weren't here, is that anytime we have a change of manager for a liquor license, we just do the pro forma reminding any issues with alcohol are now your responsibility. And when your dad's name was on
I
it,
get it.
it was actually his responsibility, and so it's nothing to do with the Harneys or the Abbotts. It's just every change of manager for liquor license. We just want to make sure we have a chance to get that message across. So that's the
Important point.
only reason we brought you in.
And glad to see you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We did vote. And next we have whether to approve an application for a common victualler license for Bite on the Go at 5 Old Meeting House Road in East Falmouth. Is Bite on the Go here? Hi, welcome. Step right up.
Good evening.
Hi, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Valerie De Stefani. I live in the Vineyards. I run and operate Bite on the Go over there, and I'm trying to open a second location over here in East Falmouth.
Great. We see a plan that was brought forth.
Yes.
It's very Very organized, lots of seating. Are there questions from the board?
We have a copy of your menu here, but if you would just take this opportunity to tell the audience at home what you're going to be serving. It's not a free advertisement, but pretty close.
Okay, good. I can take. We serve our food in a buffet style. It's mostly Brazilian food, but we do cook American food too. We have a menu that goes changes every day. So you have some regular foods that you're gonna be find on a daily basis, and we have different meats that we cook on about 6 or 7 every different on each day of the week. We are not thinking about sell any liquor. We don't do any Venus. I don't plan over here. We are asking for 40 seats, and that's pretty much it.
Very good. Any questions, any concerns?
No, I don't actually see a floor plan in my
Oh, I
packet.
have one.
Yeah.
Here. Where is 5 Old Meeting House Road? What is it?
We're across with the CVS in East Farm,
Okay.
on the corner.
The old Dunkin' Donuts location.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks good, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Is there a motion?
Move approval?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful
Good luck.
addition.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda under administrative orders is whether to approve an Eversource petition to install one new 4-inch conduit on Hatchville Road north of Wellington Way for service at Lot 18, Hatchville Road.
I just want to disclose, I'm in a butter. I did get notice. I don't have any connection to the property, but I am in a
Okay.
butter.
Doesn't sound like a conflict to
I
me.
don't think so, no.
Recommendation from the engineering department is to approve the request.
Right.
I'd move that we approve the request of Eversource.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is whether to approve an application for Eversource petition to install one new 4-inch conduit on Abby's Lane north of Teal Street for service to 29 Abby's Lane.
I move approval.
I would second that, since how they reinforced that pole on Thomas Landers Road that I was worried about. Put an extra guy wire on it. They're starting to respond a little bit.
That's right, they're getting more responsiveness.
And the recommendation from the engineering department is also to approve it.
Yeah.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
I
All
second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is a vote to clarify the Board of Selectmen's support to the town of Bourne for bikeway extension funding. Mr. Suso.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. You'll recall at your last regular meeting, the board voted on this particular issue, and due to an error on my part, in the draft motion that was brought your way, the word rail to trail was inserted, the phrase. It should have been rail with trail, which makes it consistent with the balance of the comments, and I would just ask the board for your indulgence and hopefully your willingness to approve that slight alteration in your motion, and I will rework the letter accordingly.
I know that Bikeways had forwarded a draft from the Bourne. It was actually, I guess, drafted by the Bikeways Committee.
Yes.
And did you want to speak to that?
I know that, I think Mr. Suso had received that. It was sort of at the initial discussion before this came on the agenda. I think it was passed on to all of us, and I think at the last meeting, we actually referenced it when the board approved or directed town manager. I think we had noted that he could use that as a template, because it had some specifics in it. So I know there were some concerns or some questions raised by, actually, it wasn't by Bikeways, but by members of the Shining Sea, Friends of the
Bike Trail.
Yes. About whether or not it was sort of a strong enough endorsement of the project. So I don't know, if that's something folks wanted to discuss, or.
I hadn't received that, so I wasn't aware that there were
I think
concerns
maybe it
about
came
the
to you and I.
letter that was transmitted. I just basically directed it to the person that our Bikeways Chair had identified Amanda Lewis, Manager of Recreational Trails, and referenced the motion as the board saw. I think you were copied with it, and also affirmed the board's interest in maintaining an operational rail line. So beyond that, I'm not certain what.
And we did hear that that's not in conflict with what the recommendation is.
Correct.
In which case, is there a motion?
So moved. I think this is actually more in the spirit of what we were actually discussing and probably what the motion should have been. So I move that we amend the motion to include rail with trail.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, under business, is a borrowing authorization. Ms. Petit, Director of Finance.
Good evening. We haven't done this in a little while, but we have the signing tonight of the borrowing of the $16.4 million. So I'm going to have Patty start the paperwork on your end, where it designates clerk of the Board of Selectmen. That can be the chair of the Board of Selectmen, please, if you wouldn't mind. So we figured we'd get that going right now. There was a memo put in your packet. The Town of Falmouth issued bond anticipation notes. They're due in a year, so we're borrowing for a year. $16.4 million. We're borrowing $9.5 million for the senior center, $3.1 million for the athletic field, and $3.8 million for the wastewater management plan. We went out to bid last Thursday, and we received 6 bids, and the lowest net interest cost was 1.79%.
Can I put my loan in that too?
Excuse me, I know. Which is phenomenal. I actually looked back at the history. In 2016, we borrowed $15 million for a year at 0.5%. So interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
But still, I will take that.
You're killing us.
Does anybody have any questions?
I would move to authorize that we borrow the sum of $16,400,000.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I will email the vote so that you can
Start
incorporate that
signing.
into the minutes.
Thank you
and
very
can
much.
Just make that.
Thank you.
Next, we have a discussion on the sale of tax title property.
I'm going to stay here and
First one.
talk about this for a minute.
Thank you.
There was a memo that was put in your packet last Friday, and it was a very detailed memo from Town Council Frank Duffy, which laid out the process for tax title, which can be a little bit confusing. There's a lot to do. So I'm going to talk about that, and I put some slides together just to clarify some issues. It has been coming up the past couple of years. We've had people inquire about certain parcels of property to sell. So we wanted to bring this to the board and just start the discussion tonight. Okay. Tax title taking. The collector files an instrument of taking after 3 years of unpaid taxes. So what really happens is that if you haven't paid your property taxes in 3 years, the collector has the right to take those off the receivable, off the tax, well, they're still on the tax rolls, and move it over to tax title. And that happens after, 3 years. And the collector may defer the taking if a payment plan is in place. So if somebody has set up a payment plan or something like that, we don't necessarily take it into tax title. And what does that mean? The town sends a demand notice. So the tax collector will send a demand notice to the people that are ready to be moved into tax title. And if taxes remain unpaid 14 days after the demand notice is sent, a legal advertisement is placed in the newspaper. And then the town records the instrument of taking with the Registry of Deeds within 60 days. And then at that point, taxes accrue at a 16% interest rate, and that is set by statute.
It always stays at 16 regardless of economy.
Yes. Foreclosure proceedings. Once we take the land, the property, we can foreclose. And what does that mean? It cuts off the taxpayer's right to redeem the property. Foreclosure proceedings can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years. It's a lengthy process. And the cost of each foreclosure is approximately $2,000. And a lot of times, and it's detailed in the memo, that memo is pretty detailed. It does talk about, a lot of times there's problem identifying the owners when we're trying to foreclose on a piece of property. So there is, and this had come up about a year ago, we really never brought it to the board, but there were some discussions about an alternative procedure, because the foreclosure process is a lengthy process. You're identifying property, and once you foreclose on a piece of property, now that does come off the tax rolls because we own it, so nobody's paying taxes on it because, you know, we do own it, so the right of redemption is not there. Or it could be. I think we've run into some issues with that in the past. So there's an alternative procedure, and that's the transfer of tax receivables to a third party. And it may be made individually or in bulk. So this is in lieu of taking it in foreclosure. And the treasurer identifies suitable receivables, and it's sold at public auction. So what happens is we put the receivables together, we go out to public auction, and then we sell it to a third party. Now, they don't own the property, but they have the right to collect. And that's the process, and it's laid out under statute of that we could do that. And I'm going to stop for a minute because there's been several communities that have done this procedure, and there was some concerns that came up because people didn't know that their tax title was being sold to a third party. So now that they are, the third party is somewhat maybe aggressively pursuing the payment on the tax title. So there's a lot, under the law, there's a lot of notification that has to be done to all the property owners before we would go into this process. Even more that would be laid out in statute so people would know that we are selling this tax title to a third party. And so there's a suggested procedure. The town treasurer would identify the property for sale. There'll be no sale of property that is occupied by the owner as a primary residence, subject to an outstanding payment agreement, that are in bankruptcy proceedings, or has contamination, which would be a 21E. And the treasurer will notify all departments to determine if property should be retained for municipal purposes. So when we go through it, we'll send out a memo to all the department heads and actually look at the property and maybe put them in bulk and sell them as a receivable. There's a lot involved in tax title taking, foreclosure. A lot of times, especially when we get the inquiries to buy land, well, first we have to foreclose on that, which takes 1 to 3 years, and it can be a costly process. And then we could sell it, but then we have to bid that out, and we have to auction off the property. So there is a procurement process. So we wanted to start the discussion tonight to see if the board would like us to look at this alternative procedure that other communities are doing, and just really start the discussion. I don't know, I'm sure you have questions. I have Frank Duffy here and
I
Patty
just have a
O'Connell.
question about, and you may not know this, but maybe we could look into it if we don't, but I'm just wondering sort of how common it is. You know, is this sort of in the minority in terms of the way that towns, handle this issue in terms of selling it to the third party? And if there's been any, sort of, is there greater litigation one way or the other? Or, greater issues with litigation one way or the other?
There's 43 communities, Patricia O'Connell, treasurer collector, there's 43 communities within Massachusetts that use this procedure successfully, recouping millions of dollars in uncollected taxes. And Harwich had an issue, I think, 2 years ago, because it wasn't explained to the community and what they were doing. There wasn't enough letters that went out to notify what the town intended to do. But we intend to, notify everyone significantly of what we intend to do as far as the auction process goes.
Doug?
Did you get any feedback on what the outcome usually is? Do the majority of the people pay their taxes?
Yeah, when the initial letters go out that indicate that the town intends to auction off the parcels, close to 50% of the people come in and make full payment.
And so the town couldn't send a similar letter with efficiency, is it?
We've tried. I mean, a lot of these properties that are in tax title now are, we have no idea who the rightful owner is because of trusts or people passing away or.
I see.
Or,
So it becomes a bit of a job, just researching and trying to find them.
exactly.
Whereas-
And yet, the people who are out there that do this type of procedure, that helps the community do this, they have all the legal power, manpower to research who the rightful owners are.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't have the manpower to do that.
I gotcha.
Sam?
Yeah, I have a question. It's not quite as far as you're talking about, but a couple of properties in our neighborhood have been unoccupied for a long period of time. I inquired and I found out that actually a company was paying the taxes, so the town's getting the tax money. But apparently the owners, who we knew, were not paying their taxes. And I gather that a lien is put on their property to recover whatever that third party is paying on their behalf. And I was quite shocked. I didn't know that people could do that. This is a different avenue, but it's obviously the town's not out of the money because the third party is paying for it.
That's unusual, because in Massachusetts, if someone pays the taxes on a parcel, it doesn't give them any right to the property. So,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
I'd just like to step into, Peter Johnson-Straub went through this process in Yarmouth too, so he could also talk to the actual process of selling the receivables. I just wanted to mention that as well.
Do you know what the cost is, how much the cut is for outsourcing?
Well,
I don't believe there's any fee.
right.
Because we're looking at a couple different vendors that do this, and they actually go to the auction and bid on the parcels as well. It's not to say they're gonna win the bid, but they bid on it, and so they make the 16% if they win buying that particular lien. And probably Frank might have some.
I could chime in on that if you like.
Okay.
Please.
So Patty's absolutely correct that the town doesn't pay any cost.
Right.
What happens is at the auction, that's where it's determined what is paid by the entity buying the lien. And the recent experience has been that they pay 100% of the value of the lien, and often cases more than that. So the town actually gets a premium on top of whatever the value of the tax title is at the time of the taking.
It's all the fees, all the charges.
And why do they do that? Because the interest keeps going, right? So the town sells the tax title at a point in time, and at that moment in time, they get the value of the taxes that's owed plus interest, and now the private company owns that tax lien, and the next day there's a little bit more interest, right? So that's why they're willing to pay more than the face value of that lien.
I have another question.
Doug?
So then, is there any disadvantage to signing up with the company as far as like losing any first right of refusal that the town may have? When I first saw this, I thought in terms of, this is probably bargain property that's gonna go at a minimal price. Maybe it would be a good way to supplement affordable housing. And I'm wondering if we go this route, then do we lose the opportunity to retain it?
Yeah, that should be part of the filtering process, and Jen referenced that part of the suggested process is before any tax title is sold, we vet it by the departments for potential uses, and affordable housing would certainly be one of those screens that
Is
we
that also
that we could
before
look
it
at.
goes to the collecting?
Yes. Right, that's why we will, before anything goes up for auction,
I see.
myself,
I had them out of order.
yeah, we'll all, the planning board, we'll all have a discussion on if it's a parcel that we want to put up for auction.
I see.
So in other words, there's no obligation to put every parcel.
No.
It's simply which ones we
Yes, we can
funnel
pick
in
and
that
choose.
direction.
Right.
Right.
And you can bundle them, you can
Right.
get, a couple of them together, and bundle them that way. Yep.
Jennifer, I'd like to, when you say town departments, I think it would be great to add EDIC to that.
Okay.
Because of
So they
their
can take a look at it.
developmental, capacity.
Once we bundle them and we sell them at auction, so it is a bidding process, it's a procurement process, and that company buys our tax title, so that company has the right to the tax title, and if the owner wants to redeem it, has to redeem it with that company. We lose our rights to that property once we auction it off, and I just want to make that clear. That's why the vetting process of what we put in the bundle of the tax title will be really important.
Megan?
But I have a question. So, so that company comes in, and if it's bundle or individual, whatever it is, so we lose the right to what's then gonna happen going forward with that property, because they have that lien. But taxes continue to be due on that property, because we don't own it.
Well, the taxes are due to that company. They've already paid us off. So we don't collect anything else on that property.
The future. Right.
For the
so-
future. So when exactly. So when we go to auction, so we have what's called tax title receivable. So on our financial statements, we have, last year it was like 1.3 million is owed in tax title. So just for discussion purposes, say we bundled all our tax title property. They might give us a little bit more than $1.3 million. We're done with it. It's off our books. They've paid it off. Now they have that right because they're accruing interest at 16% a day. So then they're getting the interest, so that's their,
Where they
cut
make
in it.
their money.
That's where they make their money. And then they have the right, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to foreclose on that property. They have the right to foreclose, not the town.
But to, Megan, to your point, yes, the new taxes continue to,
Right.
be placed upon the property, and those need to be paid to the town.
That's
So
what I meant.
all
I
that
just
discussion
want-
is just the back
Yeah,
tax.
no, I know. I just want to make sure people, because we had talked about if the town owns it, it comes off the tax roll.
Right.
I just want to make
Right.
sure people understood that it's not as
Does
if
come
this,
off the
you know,
tax
this
roll,
is
yes.
still on the, this is a way for that
Right.
property to remain on the tax roll. We're just simply being made whole for
Right.
what to do to us, and then from there on, it's between the company and the homeowner.
Exactly. It doesn't come off the tax roll.
Right.
Now, if we bought the property or if we retain the property,
comes-
then it would come off the tax roll.
And basically, it returns those properties to productive tax-paying use
Right.
in the future, so that's important.
Correct, yes.
Any other questions?
Until it changes hands, are we receiving 16% also, did you say?
They're paying it. I mean, they're accruing it, so,
Once they get into trouble, it goes to that 16 anyway.
yeah, and that is
I'm
set
just
by.
wondering if we're being mean or.
No, it's set
already
by
happened.
statute. The 16%, we have no choice.
Okay.
So we have to, so what happens is somebody can come in today and ask us what they owe on a tax title piece of property, and we give them what the payoff is today. They can come in from, a week from now, and the payoff will be different.
Right.
I just had
It's
one.
a mean
I'm sorry.
statute.
Yeah, we don't have control
I just
over
have one
that.
other question.
Sure.
Just in terms of process. So, of the homes that are in sort of this state, did you say, was that 1.3 million a real number, or?
Yeah, it was last year. It's a little higher now, and we have, not that we want to divert the conversation, but our actual receivables where we can see the property, we have them on two systems. We have them on Top Gun and we have them on SoftWrite. So that's another issue we're looking to transfer into SoftWrite, but yes.
Okay, so
It's
of
about
that,
1.5 maybe now.
okay. How many of those is the issue really that you can't ascertain, if you just had to guess, ascertain sort of ownership?
Ownership.
And how many are just folks who, you know who they are, and they're just not paying or having a hard time paying? I'm just curious.
It's a good question. I never really looked at it that closely.
Don't guess if you don't need.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I'd be curious to know,
Yeah.
just to,
Some of them are just, small parcels that the owner, we know who the owner is, but they don't want to pay him because they're not buildable.
right.
And those parcels, the tax with the 6% interest may soon get higher level tax than the value of the property.
Right, exactly.
And that's where actually having it go to a third party,
Is
the town will get more money through the taxes
Yes.
than through taking on the ownership of the property.
correct.
And once they, even if these lots are not buildable, once this receiving company takes them, they have to keep paying the tax? How do they, what would they do to get out of it after they realize it's not buildable?
I'm not really sure that
Okay.
far into it. These are the first steps.
Right.
A company that we're looking to is more than happy to come and do a presentation as well,
Mhm.
to give you more information on those type of questions and how they handle that. So
Okay.
if it's something, we want to look into, they'll be more than happy to come down and.
A question for Frank,
Mhm.
in the meantime?
I think Frank
Yep.
could speak to this.
Frank Duffy, Town Council, just to answer that question, you put together a list of properties and you submit them to all of the people who are going to come to the auction and purchase, and they may elect not to buy certain properties if they know there are problems they can't solve.
Right.
So if it's totally unbuildable, or if it's contaminated or something, we're stuck with it.
Right.
That's a
So
practical
some of
answer.
those may not be solved by this problem.
Right. Any more questions?
No, that's
I
great.
think we
Great
got
first
it.
intro.
Really
Yeah,
great
thanks.
presentation. Jennifer, Patty, nice job. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a nice outsource of a problem that will bring some money back to the town at a really a good point in time when we need it.
So you'd like us to move forward with at least looking at more of the options, maybe dig a little bit deeper and start looking at some of the property?
I think that's the general consensus.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You need an
Thank you very
official
much.
motion?
It's only on for discussion,
Okay,
so
fine. We can't move yet.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is a vote to adopt the public comment rules. These were presented, probably a month or more ago as a result of a case that had come down recently. I asked Frank to go ahead and kind of look at the town of Falmouth's public comment rules in the context of the new ruling, which he did. He made a presentation to the board detailing those changes. Thank you. And we're ready to go ahead and vote those proposed new public comment changes, unless there are any more questions from the board.
I have two questions.
Yep.
One is, I'm actually comfortable not voting these and just having be under the leeway of the chair to run the committee, the program they want. The second is, I guess I have a distinction between policy and rules. Policies are something we can change anytime we want to. Is a rule something that actually ties our hands a little bit more than that? Because I want to just be careful that we're not overly restricting exactly what can happen under our meeting.
Frank, do you want to comment on that? I think it's a good point.
Yeah, but there is a fair amount of discretion
Well,
given to the
just one
chair.
thing at a time, if you would.
It's the same point.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Jones is correct about the difference between a policy and a rule, and I believe a policy is the appropriate method you would like to control the public comment, not a
Okay.
rule.
In which case, so you're agreeing there's no need to vote acceptance?
Well, the Board of Selectmen, when they have a policy, has traditionally voted it as their policy. In fact, there's a booklet in the town manager's office of all voted policies, so, but it is, as pointed out, there is some discretion in there, so.
I just feel I'd be much more comfortable voting this as our comment, or policy on public comment, not our rules of public
Yes,
comment.
that's correct.
Okay, Sam?
Yeah, but I think in succession from chair to chair, it's important to have these kind of guidelines, because, people go off, somebody comes on, these things haven't come up for topic, maybe one chair uses a little bit different interpretation of it, so I think it's really important that we do establish these policies, and I think it's nice for the chair to be able to point to them and say, this has been thought out, and we've approved it, and we're gonna stick with it.
Megan?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think it's a nice resource for a chair to look at, and I think it's a nice resource for the community to be able to take a look at it and just get a sense. Sometimes we know we have folks who come because they really care about a particular issue and don't necessarily have the time to come to these meetings, and so, for them, if somebody wants to kind of organize around an issue, to be ready to make a statement, to know kind of what the policy is, and frankly, to be maybe strategic about the use of that time if they know in general that that's what it is, I think it's very helpful. I would say if we're gonna, just to avoid any confusion, I don't know if that word rules,
On the third page.
maybe should just be changed to the following guidelines, or some, just a different word, so that we.
I like the word guidelines,
Yeah.
and in fact, that's why I asked town council to take a look when I saw that, the recent case. I just think that the point that I think everyone is making, that expectations are good to just have out there and available to the public. And I also think that, when you come before a Board of Selectmen, a lot of people don't do it all the time, might not have an opportunity really to even watch on TV, and it's just a resource so that people are comfortable in interacting with the board in terms of what they need or what they want to suggest.
I was going to suggest, just say the public comment period is subject to the following procedure, subject to the change of the discretion of the board.
Okay.
And get
Yep.
rid of rules
Yep,
of
perfect.
HR.
Yep.
Which is subject.
I would just say, I wouldn't get rid of the which and just do it as a parenthetical, subject to the change at the discretion of the board.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so with that change, we'll take that as a motion.
Yes, then I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for putting this
Thank you.
together.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you,
really helpful, Frank. Thank you.
Appreciate all that work.
That's the official Sioux policy.
Next,
If I
we
say
have,
share
on the
policy.
agenda, interview, vote, and appoint committee members. The first one is affirmative action, and the first applicant is Lynn Rhodes. Is Lynn here today? Yes, I see. Tough with that famous last name not to be recognized.
No, it is.
Welcome. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lynn Rhodes. I was born and raised in Falmouth. I'm actually living in the house I grew up in. When I lived in a massive Boston area for all of my life and returned back to Massachusetts 2 years ago to help with the assistance of taking care of my dad. And one of the things I've been able to witness as I was helping make sure he got to all of his appointments, which were numerous, is the impact that he made. And just that, as in some ways he was a mild-mannered person, but he was effective, and I learned a lot from him. Since his passing, I've noticed that he's left a huge void in all kinds of areas. And I guess being his daughter, I really kind of feel called in some ways to kind of ease some of that hole that he's left in various dimensions.
Any questions?
No.
No, I can just say, I know that Lynn has already been attending quite a few affirmative action committee meetings and is, already really involved in some of the work that they're doing. And I told her the other day, I know she is trying to sort of step into a role, but she brings a lot of her own experiences that are different from SCOBA, and so it's wonderful to have that kind of connection to his legacy, but I think that you also bring a different life experience and different sort of set of thoughts and things that you can contribute. So I certainly would support her. She's already really been, I think, fair to say, a really important part of the committee in the last many months, so.
Well, we're going to have to decide between terms in a minute, but we do have another applicant. Is there any more questions for Lynn?
I would just simply say I've gotten to know Lynn pretty well over the last year. She and my dog, me and my dog. Anyway, we visited her dad quite a few times, and she's been attending some of the Rotary Club meetings that SCOBA attended and I belonged to with him. And so I know her well, and I just think she's a great candidate. So thank you, Lynn, for stepping up to do this.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
If you'd just be seated for a sec, we'll get right back to you.
Sure.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
you wanted to say?
No, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Next, we have Megan Hannawalt. Welcome. Come right up, please.
I tweaked my back earlier today, so I'm sorry.
Don't rush then, I get it.
No, that's okay. I was just standing up was a little hard. Thanks
Hi.
for having me tonight.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Megan Hannawalt. I live in East Falmouth with my wife, 2 dogs, 5 chickens, and 4 goats.
Quite
I was
a
really
family.
hoping the
That's
goats were
diversity.
coming
Ah,
tonight.
bedtime. Have your meeting in the day. I'll bring them.
And what made you interested in affirmative action?
Well, I want to serve the town. I've been thinking about serving the town in some way. And, particularly over the past year and a half, the catalyst of, the Ta-Nehisi Coates read from Falmouth Reads Together, getting to know a more diverse population in our town through, community groups and friends, as well as through caretakers for my mom who lived with me for 5 months. It's a totally different group of people that I hadn't met before. And then also through the Woods Hole Film Festival with the Sandra Bland. I didn't get to see the movie, but I saw the panel. It's just like, I need to do something. And I feel strongly that affirmative action is some way that I could help our town, reach its potential.
Nice big reasons. Thank you very much. Any questions?
No, I know she's been doing research because she's asked some former members of the Affirmative Action Committee what their experiences were. So I know this has been percolating for a while, and you know that you've been thinking about it for a while.
I went to the January meeting. I'm not as, I'm catching up to Lynn, which is going to be impossible, but I'll try. So,
Thank you. Doug,
I was just going to make a motion.
please go right ahead. I think we're set with the
Thanks.
interview.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, and really appreciate all the members of the committee who come for interviews. It's so important. Appreciate that. Just hi to you all. Doug.
I would move that we appoint Megan Hannawalt to a term ending June 30th, 2019, and Lynn Rhodes to a term ending June 30th, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Next, we have Human Services Committee, Nadine McCall and Sharon Sodixon. Nadine, are you here?
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Here I am a born and bred Falmouth person. I have a lot of experience in human services. I started out at 21 with a child with cerebral palsy as a single parent. I quickly got to know the needs of him. I currently work for a Cape Organization for the Rights of Disabled, and I'm out in the community constantly working on just that, human needs. There was a great need. I've been working with the Homeless Committee, the Disability Commission, with Kathleen Haynes, and I just think that my experience and know-how is going to add a lot to the committee. I can assess the needs of the community quickly because I've been born into it, we might as well say. And I'm really excited about being able to give back. Falmouth is my joy. We came here and built a home in 1945. So we still have a home here. And it's important to me that not only disabled individuals, but individuals with serious human needs right now. I mean, we have some problems. And I'd like to be able to help in addressing some of them.
Oh, excellent.
Sounds like you're already doing the work.
I am.
Are there any questions after that interview?
No, I have no questions. I'm ready.
Thank you very much, then.
Thank you
We'll
for your time today.
appreciate it. Ms. Sodixon. Hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Sodixon, and I actually worked for the Falmouth Human Services Department. I was the coordinator for the Coalition for Substance Abuse for 3.5 years, almost 4 years, actually. And I've been supportive to the Substance Abuse Commission. I've worked with the VIPS. I ran the mentor program for 1.5 years with Tracy Crago. And I took a little hiatus. I too had an ill parent, and she passed this year. And I was ready to give back, so I went to see Susie. I've done a lot with Human Services, always been available to them for any need they might have, and I went to a couple of meetings, and it's just as a good fit. I know a lot of people, and it's all about giving back and being of service. That's as simple as it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Nope. See, she
Sarah.
knows what she's doing.
Motion?
I would move, we have 3 vacancies, but I would move that we appoint Nadine McCall and Sharon Sodixon to term ending June 30th, 2021.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Solid Waste Advisory Committee. We have Amy Roth and Ruth Brazier. Amy, step right up. Hi. Thank you for applying.
Thank you for having me. My name is Amy Roth. I'm a Falmouth resident. I've been here about 14 years, born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, so a transplant from the Midwest. I have a couple kids going through the Falmouth school system, and as they're getting into their teenage years, I've just started to feel like I need to be a little more informed about my town, a little more involved in my town. Started looking at my options, committees, town meeting, And I'm an environmental consultant by trade, so as I looked through the committees, solid waste kind of jumped right out at me. I have a little bit of background, speak a little bit of the language, care about recycling and litter, so started going to some of the meetings, December, January, thinking I'll just go and get a little smarter about what they do, what they talk about, what they're interested in, and lo and behold, now there are 2 vacancies on the committee, so threw my name in the hat to join in a more formal way.
Wonderful.
Right place, right time.
I guess it was.
Any questions?
No, I'll just say that I did receive from Linda Davis a huge just endorsement of both of the applicants, just so the board knows. She emailed me. She has the flu. She had intended to be here tonight, but sent me a message saying that she was not well, and she spoke about, just glowingly about Amy and Ruth, because Ruth has extensive experience and has been a part of the board, and Amy because she was really taken with her enthusiasm. So just so the folks here know that the chair of the Solid Waste Advisory is very excited about both applicants, so.
I have the same question that I always ask solid waste advisory people is, how do you think you will get Republic Waste Services to issue pamphlets that tell us what we can recycle and what we can't?
Actually, Republic is doing a better job already, and I'm embarrassed to say I know this because I received one of the little green sticky notes when my 16-year-old put a pizza box in my recycling.
All right.
So Republic is actually already engaging more. Members of the committee have gone on a ride-along with Republic and talked with them, not only done sort of their own committee-based assessment of what's going into the bins that should be there, what shouldn't be there, but talked with the Republic folks as well about them doing that type of bin-by-bin assessment and making sure they are putting the stickers on. So that's a conversation that's already started.
Good.
And I think, from what I understand, I've not had those conversations myself, but from what I understand, Republic is actually pretty receptive to doing the work.
Okay.
And their website's pretty good. If you visited it, they do have a lot of information on the website.
Okay.
So it's more pointing people to the resources that are there. You
You're
know.
hired.
That's good, that's really good to hear. Thank you. So that's a concern that part of your interview helped us know has been addressed. So thank you for that. Any other questions? No?
I guess I'll just use this opportunity that I read an article today. I know we've been told the plastic bags cannot go into recycling.
Right.
They can go to Stop and Shop or Star Market or any of the supermarkets. They actually have bins. And so if you want to recycle them, you can drop them off there and get them into the recycling as opposed to necessarily going in the trash. Don't put them in the trash, don't put them in the recycling, bring them to the Stop and Shop and they'll take care of them for you.
Right. Please, please, please don't separate your recycling by using little plastic bags. Yeah.
Right.
Paper bags are fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ruth, welcome.
I'm Ruth Brazier. I have been on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee before,
Yeah.
actually since its inception. And when term limits maybe have to step down, I couldn't resist having almost perfect attendance at the Solid Waste Advisory meetings.
While you were off?
While I was off.
Oh, my
I think in the past year, I missed one meeting.
I was going to ask what you did in your year off, but never mind.
It's very hard to get uninterested in solid waste, for me anyway. I also have been volunteering at Pick of the Litter, swap shop at the transfer station, and trying to get things in, put things in order so that people can see what's there, because then they do take that stuff. Our problem there is that more stuff comes in than goes out. So we want to encourage people to be greedy under this, if possible, to get the stuff out of the waste stream. This is called waste reduction, which the state is really pushing. I also have written a number of talking trash articles, and I try to keep informed so that I go to a lot of the workshops that the state provides, and I'm sorry to say that sometimes I'm the only person from Falmouth represented there. The most recent one I found very inspiring because it was about towns which, as an aspect of, or as a part of waste reduction, have established what they call fix-it cafes. And these are set up so that volunteer talent who know how to fix things meet, have a sort of open house at a library or other facility, and they teach people how to fix the things that they bring in. And of course, it seemed to me that Falmouth is full of fix-it talented people, and it would be very nice to provide this service in Falmouth. Everybody apparently has a wonderful time at these affairs. Speaking of the problem that we have with trying to improve our recycling stream, actually, I was on that little survey that Amy mentioned, and we did a very, very small survey of about 30 houses in East Falmouth, and only a third of those houses had a perfect score. And a third of the houses, at least a third, had plastic bags, plastic film in their recycling containers. Actually, I was surprised that even a third had a perfect score from
So we need to
cursory
do better.
examination. Because in North Falmouth, when I walk around among my neighbors in the past, and I'm afraid I can't resist looking in their blue bins. And my impression is that it's more like 90% failure. But in this particular community in East Falmouth, they seem to do a much better job. But 30% is not very high. That's 30% doing it right we really need to improve.
Yes.
And that's something I'd like to help with.
Thank you.
I think it's very important.
Thank you. That's a point well made. Questions?
Can we get those mailings from Republic?
Yeah.
Uh,
Can we get those mailings twice a year from Republic telling us what to recycle?
Yes, I hope so.
I hope
But
so,
this
too.
is something we can't do
Constantly.
without major cooperation from your administration.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Is there a motion?
I would move that for the reason that if we approve Ruth to the 2-year term, that won't count to term limits, and she can then do 3 full-year terms after that, and we know we've had her hooked.
Good strategy.
So I would appoint Ruth Brazier to the term ending June 30th, 2020, and Amy Roth to the term ending June 30th, 2021.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for applying, everyone. Much appreciated. That's how this town does so well. The next item, let's see, what did we agree to? So we're going to skip over 5 for the moment, and we're going to do the update and discussion of recreation staffing and potential Gus Canty Playground equipment relocation to area at Sandwich Road Fields. Mr. Suso, do you want to kick that off?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As part of agenda item number 6, we have a 2-part presentation and discussion. The first is on an update and discussion on recreation staffing, and Peter Johnson-Staub will lead that off for us with a PowerPoint summary. And I know we have some members of the Recreation Committee with us as well. And the second part is a discussion of the potential playground equipment relocation from the Gus Canty, the former playground at Gus Canty, to an area at the Sandwich Road Fields. And Peter McConerty, in that case, will have a short PowerPoint presentation to present. So I'll turn things over to my colleague, Peter McConerty, at this point. Pardon me. Peter,
Too many
Peter
Peters.
Johnson Staub at this
All the
point.
Dougs, all the Peters, it's
I
no
know,
more.
right?
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Peter.
Thank you. So we just wanted to give the board a quick update, as was requested by Mike Halen of the Recreation Committee, and we're very pleased to report that as of last week, all of the full-time budgeted positions are filled. We've been attempting to fill the one vacancy for some time now. That's the vacancy that was left with the Assistant Recreation Director for some period of time. As soon as Joe Olenek was permanently appointed to the Recreation Director position, we've been trying to fill that position, and again, pleased to report that we now have it filled. I'll say a few more words about that position in a moment. But before I do that, just wanted to highlight that in addition to having all of the budgeted positions filled, the town manager has proposed some additional staffing resources for the Recreation Department and recreation-related functions. So specifically, as is shown on the slide, there is increased funds for an existing part-time receptionist position. There are increased funds for the Summer Adventure Program seasonal staff, likewise for the sailing program seasonal staff, and in the Parks Department, one of the key priorities for the Recreation Committee has been improved maintenance efforts and results, and the town manager's proposed budget does include 2 full-time park employees to help improve that effort, along with additional resources for equipment. So this is just a quick look at the org chart for the Recreation Department. We have the Recreation Director position, a full-time senior office assistant position, the part-time receptionist position that I mentioned that has increased hours budgeted for next year in the recommended town manager's budget. We have 2 full-time program director positions that are long-standing positions, and we are denoting them as Program Director A as those long-standing positions. The new position that was recently filled is also a Program Director position, and the only distinction between the A and the B is that the new position has incorporated into the job description cross-training in the beach department. So this is an effort to make the most use of the position that we can to better collaborate between the recreation and the beach department positions. We feel that it's an important step to provide continuity and support for what is in the beach department, a critical operation that involves a lot of staff, and they're all seasonal, 100% seasonal. So this position would provide a little bit of backstopping from a full-time staff member to provide support to that effort. And then, of course, there are many seasonal employees in the recreation department as well. So I've already touched on the program director position. The primary duties will be in recreation. The support provided to the beaches will be very much incremental and be a relatively minor portion of the job as we envision it for the first year, but hopefully over time some growing responsibility there. And we want to highlight that there is no reduction in seasonal beach staff that goes along with this collaboration that we are engaging in. There is no change in the role of the recreation director or the beach director, and there is no change in the role of the recreation committee or the beach committee. So that's pretty much it. That's the update on status of recreation staffing. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, just we'll start with the board. And I want to recognize and appreciate the Recreation Committee members who are here in the audience. So, for example, I know that in part, Recreation uses grants and grant funding. I don't have a budget in front of me, but I believe that's the case. So, writing grant requests, for example, whose job would that be?
You know, like all small departments, it is a challenge to make time. Most departments don't have a grant writer. So our ability to do that is incumbent on the director, and often partnering with other resources either within the town or the county has, as I'm sure you're aware, has some support for municipalities in grant writing as well.
Questions from the board, Doug?
On the two new seasonal employees, since Mr. Pearson is here, could we clarify, I was under the impression that those were gonna be to supplement the person who's now doing the mowing and create an actual, like a green grounds crew? Am I understanding that correctly?
And I just want to clarify, so those are full-time, year-round park employee positions?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are full-time, and it's just to add to our mow crew and groundskeeping crew. It's pretty much to have, what we have now is a mow crew that has to break away from mowing to do groundskeeping. So now we're gonna have 2 additional people to just do groundskeeping type stuff and to fill in, just say somebody's out, something like that. Be more efficient.
So they won't be like officially designated as mowers because you don't mow all year round?
Right.
I see.
More so groundskeeping.
Yep.
A little bit of everything.
But you think that's enough, though, that this year we'll be able to really, and you got some new equipment, right?
And we have some new equipment, yeah. We have new mowers and hopefully 2 new bodies, so that should help out a lot. And the new mowers, what's really gonna help out.
Right.
We've had some severe issues in the past.
Right.
With it just breaking down constantly. That's what.
So it's 2 large mowers, are they?
We bought one large 16-foot mower, and then we bought smaller zero-turn mowers.
Okay.
With baggers on them if we need to use them.
Okay.
Other questions?
Not about that issue, no.
Doug? Anyone from the audience who would like to speak? Anyone from Recreation? Superintendent is staying late, appreciate that.
She wants her lawn mowed.
Yeah, I know, right?
Check on those.
Mr. Halen.
How's everyone doing tonight? I apologize. Michael Halen, Cliffwood Lane. I'm gonna move this mic a little bit. Also on the Rec Committee. I don't want to keep the superintendent too late, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. For several years, the Rec Committee has asked for positions to be filled. If we go, I don't think go back a couple of slides here, but we had a rec director with Helen Kennedy, and when she left, Joe Olenek, the assistant rec director, became the rec director. The assistant job has been vacant for over 2 years. And I have minutes that for close to 2 years, we've asked to have these positions filled. And now this meeting tonight, which I asked for, was because Mr. Souzo, in June, when we met, he recommended that we meet before the fiscal year 2020 budget to discuss staffing. And we have emailed, I have emailed personally, several times to get this on the agenda to get our staffing levels back. And that did not happen. Just so everyone knows in town, Program Director B is not an assistant rec director. That person is able to leave and work for the beaches if need be. So we are losing an entire person. And the saddest thing is that because of this new combined rec beach committee, rec beach position, we lost a fantastic person who could have done a great job as a full-time employee. But because he doesn't have the qualifications, Adam, to do the beach stuff, he wasn't considered for this, or didn't get the job as Program Director B. So we are losing positions. We had a meeting in June where myself, Bob Brown, Scott Gelfie, Tom Zine, Lori, we all spoke against this combined position. And at the time, we were told to talk to you all before the budget cycle. And once again, this budget cycle happened. They changed the positions, and they did not consult us. And this happened in May of 2018 as well, when we asked several times I want to thank Doug Brown has come to meetings, and I know that Megan and Doug came to tours. I don't know if I forgot you three, I apologize. But we've been asking this stuff for almost 2 years. And the role of the rec committee is to, make recommendations to the selectmen. And we've made several recommendations to the town manager, assistant town manager, and they've always said, "Oh yeah, we'll look into it. We're gonna look into that. We have to communicate better." And nothing's happened. And our children are suffering. The elderly are suffering, and I'm tired of, for almost 2 years now, asking these two gentlemen to fix this issue and keep telling us, "Yeah, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna talk to people." And as far as I can tell, I don't know if any of you know what's happening, but this is not fully staffed. This is fully staffed to what they've created, but it's not fully staffed. And that's all I have to say. And I asked, I wish this had got done before the budget. Unfortunately, it didn't. And I have all these minutes from all the meetings for the last almost 2 years of both of these gentlemen saying that they're going to look into staffing and we should talk to them before the stuff. So once again, I have a real issue with, the children suffering and our town suffering for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Ms. Cuny.
Sandra Cuny, Recreation Committee. I was recently reappointed to the Rec Committee, and I missed some of the meetings last year in which some of this took place. But I did recently, in December, after the November meeting, write a letter to the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the Recreation Committee. There was a concern about the position being vacant. There was a concern with the committee about the program director's position that would cross-train with the beaches. And again, this is something new. The beaches have been without an assistant, and the rec department's been without an assistant. And both departments do need somebody. So I know that this is a new way to go. I recently met with the town managers to try to gain a better understanding of how the new position would work between the two departments. I shared with them some of the Recreation Committee concerns about the director not having an assistant to help with administrative duties, such as the grant writing that you mentioned. So, but I will say that in the interim of not having an assistant, town management has provided the rec department with personnel to cover our programs and hours of operation. And, for that, we were grateful. And one of the young men that was recently hired, of course, grew up in Falmouth, has been working at the department for the last 5 or 6 years, grew up through all the programs, and he did apply for this position, and unfortunately, as the job description was written, he did not qualify. And so hence he could lose his job. And I think for us, that's very sad, because not only does this young man love his job there, he is loved by everybody. Children, teens, and parents as well. So I hope that you all will find a way to keep him, because he would be a terrible loss for our department. So maybe you can work something out. I hope this new position works out well. I know that it's already been in place, and the young man has been hired. I met him, and truly, I personally hope it all works out. But you can rest assured we'll be keeping good records. So thank you for your time.
Certainly appreciate that. Anyone else? Dan? Oh, sorry, Bob, I didn't see your hand. Welcome.
Hello. I think I wish I joined the Solid Waste Committee. Get to ride along on a garbage truck.
Then you get an ovation.
And you get to talk real trash. So, anyway, I'm not here to complain. What's done is done. I'm sad that the Assistant Recreation Director position has gone away. I think there's a hidden side to everything. I think one of the hidden sides to not filling a position and making this position here, which I understand, to collaborate between programs and so forth. but having two here and not an assistant director, I mean, you're taking away a salary probably increase of 10, 15, maybe $20,000. And there's usually young people in this position. We recently lost 2 young people. And I'm thinking about everything I hear in town regarding, on the Community Preservation Committee about affordable housing, from the Boston Globe. You read in the Boston Globe all the time about affordable housing on Cape Cod, in the Boston area. And I'm thinking about the young people that work there. They can't move up to an assistant director job. They can't be there in the event something happens to Joe. For continuity of a good administration, of good government. I think good community government just thinks about giving good jobs to people, like an assistant recreation director, where they might have the money to save for maybe buy a house, an affordable house here in the community, or be able to pay their rent, start a family. And that's, I think that's the hidden side of taking away assistant director job or even assistant park supervisor job at the DPW. So I think that's a side effect of it. And, I think it kills the morale of the recreation department employees. I know we had 2 young people we recently lost. So I think that's the hidden side of this collaboration between 2 departments. And that's all. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Megan.
Sorry, Peter wanted to respond.
Peter? and then
Yeah,
Megan.
I just wanted to note that our first attempt to fill the vacancy was at the same grade level as the assistant recreation director. So the original change in the title and the duties was not at all about saving money, but we were unable to find a qualified person to take that higher level job. We still have that grade slot, if you will, in the pay plan. So there is still the potential going forward to promote one of the 3 individuals to a higher pay grade, to the same pay grade as the assistant recreation director, as that person becomes more experienced and qualified.
That's a key point that I had never heard before. Megan?
So that addresses one of the issues that I was going to just sort of piggyback on the concern that Attorney Brown raised. And the other part I would say is, I think that, the change of things like this is sometimes hard. I think this potentially could have some benefits, but I will say I do hear the frustration of the rec committee, because I think, we ask committees to kind of be proactive, and I do think that rec committee really tried to kind of bring maybe some of the conversation we're hearing now to happen a little bit sooner than it did. And I know there was communication with town manager and assistant town manager, but maybe, I think when we're looking at, and this board did talk about this potential change, but some of these specifics, I think would be helpful for the public to hear, maybe before this happens. So that's a really interesting point that you're raising about trying to fill at that level, and that there's a potential for some growth of one of these individuals up to that pay grade. So I hear the frustration of the rec committee, and that I think that they did try to have a broader conversation prior to this going through. But I would also, say I think Sandy has a great attitude that we're going to look at it. If it's, hopefully it'll be a wonderful success. If it's not, it's going to be something that we'll, have to revisit. But it does have some potential for some benefits, and it is very helpful to hear that we have that opportunity to maybe have someone move up the ranks if they're really shining in one of those director positions. So
I like that, and I just want to make the point on the grant concern. Is it already part of, I guess, the director's process manual or procedure manual that it would be, in other words, it would be great if there was an easy way, if you see a grant that might be good for the town, these are the resources, speak to Peter or Julian, I think that should be spelled out as something that's really, highlighted in the job, because that's going to have reverberations that are going to be positive. And I know it's always been an important part of the recreation function in Falmouth, and I just want to be sure we keep, making sure that doesn't become an uphill battle for some of the other responsibilities. Anyone else on the board?
As far as Mrs. Kearney's concerned about the rec staff person that they really like, that now might be in jeopardy, any feedback on that? Do you guys think there's a way to work
I
through
don't
that?
like talking about personnel issues.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
In the public,
It's not
but I think
appropriate,
the
okay.
fact that the concern has been raised has
Excuse me.
been noted. Dan?
Oh, good evening, Dan Shearer. I'm on the Beach Committee. And would like to know, I'm very confused because you've filled all your positions and we're short an assistant. And we have 4 months to go before the season starts. Our beaches are a mess, which they are at this time of year because of weather and so forth. A lot of work to do. It's a 7-day-a-week job. Our poor or chairman or director works those 7 days. He needs help mainly on weekends. And, oh, well, what's he gonna get? Are we out now? Is this it? This is finalized? We're gonna get a part-time man sometimes?
We can answer that question. Peter?
Yeah, so I know there's been some confusion about that. There has been no reduction in the seasonal staffing complement of the beach department last year, the year before, or next year.
Yes, we've been short somebody.
Dan?
No,
Dan,
that's not a.
Excuse me. This is not a conversation. Please let Peter finish, and then if you have a question through the chair. Peter?
I think the confusion is one of title change. So there had been a title of assistant beach superintendent in the past. We're no longer using that title, but those same duties, very similar duties, pretty much the same duties, are now being taken on by a beach coordinator. So again, the number of hours, the number of dollars available, and all of the responsibilities are fully covered. The only change was a change in title.
Well, who is this man?
I don't know the name of the individual. Last year, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know the name of the individual, but I believe that she is interested in returning next year.
Well, I'm confused again as someone that tries to be on the beaches every day. What has this woman done? I mean, you say you don't have an assistant. What is her title? Is she going to be on the beaches? Is she going to run a tractor? We have 87 employees. Is she in charge of them? We bring up this town a lot of money.
Dan, it sounds like it's a coordinator position. Somebody would be administrative, not running a machine.
Then we don't have somebody that's going to be running the machine and running to the beaches during the weekend when there's a problem in one beach. We have 11 of them. One person can't be everywhere.
Madam Chair, if I may, we did not include on the agenda, as we know, a discussion about staffing for the beaches. And unfortunately, our beach superintendent, Bruce McGardo, was not able to be with us this evening. But I'd be happy to suggest to Bruce that we can sit with Dan Shearer and other members of the Beach Committee an opportune time, and with Bruce's assistance, walk through the continuation that is actually in place. You know, we've not eliminated a position, and as Peter's alluded, we're talking about the same individual returning once again. She'd be doing the same duties that she's done in the past in this other position. So, but I think it's most appropriate to discuss that in a meeting with them, and we would be happy to do that.
And then, on that, I think that certainly it's a natural question, and I appreciate Mr. Shearer's question, but I don't want to move too far afield from the agenda. We're talking about some shared duties here, but I appreciate the question, and I think we will follow up with Mr. Suso's suggestion and have a specific meeting on that, because this is the time to get ready. So I appreciate that. Megan?
And I would just ask that after that meeting with Mr. McGardo, if we could then just have an update for the board, because I think the public in general, as we're moving into that and they're hearing this conversation, will want to hear you know, that, just that follow-up on the questions that Dan's raising at the appropriate time when it's agended.
Absolutely. Are you all set, Dan?
No, but I guess I am.
Thank you. Mr. Halen?
Michael Halen again. If I could speak on this agenda item, this goes back to June, when we met with Mr. Suso and Mrs. Johnson-Staub. At the time, the entire rec committee said that this combined position was a bad idea, because you have a rec person with the kids, do that thing, and a beach person doing the beach stuff. And Chair Moran, if I may, the first round of applicants for this combined position, we did not fill it. Is that correct?
Please,
That's correct.
Peter?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so in June, the rec committee met with both of these gentlemen and said this is a bad idea. The people who are one, for rec, or the people of beach, is not the same person. So just wanted that on the record. Secondly, this new position, Rec B, what is the percentage of rec time and what is the percentage of beach time? And can either of you give us an exact number of that? And then my second question, follow-up question, if I may, who do they report to, Mr. Olenek or Mr. Magardo? Because if they both are out sick one day, where does Rec Director B go? Who do they report to? It seems,
Okay, good practical questions. I know you might not have details, but the best you can,
Sure.
please.
So this is a model that is not uncommon. It's a model I'm familiar with from Yarmouth, but it's certainly not the only other community that has beaches and recreation combined. So we do not have an explicit percentage. We're not going to have an explicit percentage. But as I indicated earlier, the general idea is that the vast majority of the time for this position is going to be for recreation. Over time, that may grow, and it may be after someone becomes qualified to a higher pay grade that it becomes a more substantial beach component. But that's gonna take some learning time. And the good news is that we have two really good directors in Joe Olenek and Bruce Magardo, and working with me, we will communicate very closely. It's not like, we've got two huge departments that are 1,000 miles away from each other and they're not going to be talking to each other. This isn't rocket science. These are operations that are very well run, and we can share the position. To answer your other question, this position reports to Joe Olenek, the Recreation Director.
Okay, final question?
Okay, one more point, if I may.
You get the final.
Thank you. Mr. Olenek and Mr. Magardo are both fantastic residents of town, done a great job for many years. And I don't want to disparage them, but at some point in time, those two gentlemen are going to have to retire. So with this plan, you have one Rec B person who's the assistant to both of them. So where's the contingency plan to that? Doesn't that make sense? You wouldn't have, one person for two different positions. It doesn't make much sense. So just something to think about. Maybe on paper it looks great. We're saving money. They can be split. But when one day the kids are going to Waterwiz and then the same day the beaches have a big issue, what happens? And what happens when Joe and Bruce are both sick one day? So these are like real life things, not, logistically on paper. They look good. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Further update, Mr. Suso.
Madam Chair, if we might go to the second part of item number 6.
Please.
I would ask Peter McConerty, our Deputy Public Works Director, has a couple PowerPoint slides on the suggested relocation of the playground equipment from the former Gus Candy site to a site at the Sandwich Road Fields.
Thank you.
Good evening, Peter McConerty, Deputy Director of Public Works. If you don't mind, I'm going to start with I was thinking about it up there. I'm going to start with the last slide. I think it'll help a little bit better. This playground was at the Gus Candy Center, and this is an aerial shot from a tree bucket truck before the playground was taken apart. This past year, Public Works had basically reconstructed the entire lot of the police station in the police memorial and the whole front of the lot. While we were doing that, we wanted to make sure we took care of the playground, to have that out of the way and had that in storage before the contractor for the senior center come in. At this location right now is a large foundation for the new senior center. So this is an aerial shot of the existing playground. It was donated by SBLI to the town many years ago. So we wanted to keep that structure. The company that made that structure and fabricated that structure is still in business, so we can still get parts in the future for that. What you're looking at there is the circle that is in is approximately 70 feet. So what we're looking to do is bring that and put it up at the Sandwich Road fields and put it in a 100 by 100 square area so we could put for future, we could add in the future if we wanted to do that. So I just wanted to show that at the beginning, and now I'll go to the beginning and stuff in the beginning. So this is the Sandwich Road Field, and as you can see by the sign at the top, it's not called the Sandwich Road Fields anymore. It's now called the George Gasper Sports Complex, and this is actual photo of the sign that was taken at the front entrance. There's one on the front entrance. There's also one between the new renovated football field and the baseball field. So what we're looking at doing is relocating it up into this area. So as you drive into the front of the lot, towards the side, right between the Sandwich Road and the new field, there's a wooded area, and it's approximately 250 feet wide. We're looking at carving out an area right behind the parking area, and there is about 100 by 100. What that'll do is it'll clean up the area behind the fields. There's a lot of overgrown brush. There's a lot of overgrown shrubs there. We'll clean that out, and we'll also clean this area out, rub it out. Our park superintendent, Jeremiah, can speak to the trees and the brushes, and a lot of it's scrub pines and overgrowth. So the details on the new playground area. We'll clear an area of 100 by 100, so it's 10,000 square feet. We'll look at putting a playground area of 90 by 90, so there'll be a 10-foot buffer on each side of that. So that's 8,100 square feet. And so there'll be additional room for adding equipment in the future. In the future, it'd be a great area if parents were up there and had their kids play on one of the fields. The younger kids would be able to go over and play in the playground, maybe additional of a swing set or something in future years. We wanted to make sure we have enough room to do that. And we'll also look at installing a 4-foot chain link perimeter fence around the entire area. So the logistics of doing that, what we'd look at doing is going out and clearing out the area, would grub it, pull out all the roots, bring in some sand, bring in some material, and then we'll put up 3 sides of the fence and leave the front open for now until we get all the equipment in and get it all set up. And then once that's completed, we'll be able to put the front in with the double gate, be able to keep the kids in there. Parents would know where they are. So we did think that would be a great area. Right now, it was sitting over the holidays, it was sitting at Public Works on trailers, and now it's up on the hill. So usually when things get up on the hill, it gets retired there. So we want to make sure we pull them out and put them to the new location. So it's ready to go, and Jeremiah can speak to timing on this, but I think it would be sometime in the near future, in the month of February and March, we could probably get that cleared and get it out and get the fence in there and start looking at reinstalling that equipment.
Terrific. Great. Really nice. Doug?
What happened to the idea of putting it on the field down below at Gus Canny?
That's a new playground.
That's going to be a new one.
A whole brand-new one that's going to be, I think it's going to be accessible and both, I mean, that's part of the contract for the senior center.
And there's separate funding set aside for
I thought that funding was to relocate this. I misunderstood that.
We have that funding too.
Right.
Oh, okay.
300,000, was it 300,000 for a new one?
Mm-hmm.
And so then that would leave this as not really having a home, because it probably wouldn't incorporate well with whatever new setup is going to go there.
All right, thanks.
So with installing this playground where it is, the only additional expense on this would be the 4-foot perimeter fence, which is not going to be an expensive item. All these items were taken out with the concrete bases. We're going to go out, dig the holes, put them right back in, compact them in, and put it right back. Well, I'm saying we. Jeremiah and his crew.
Your team.
Yeah,
The
go
royal
team.
we, the
That's
royal we.
right. Jeremiah's team will be out there replacing and reinstalling the playground.
Super. Megan?
I mean, I think it's great. Someone who's at that field, I think the thing that it's missing, I'm at that field a lot with my son for lacrosse, and the thing that it's missing is something for younger kids. Lacrosse goes on sometimes for a really long time when they have tournaments, and that's, I mean, I think that that's just perfect. And to have, my big question was about the fencing, because it is so close, that parking lot is so close, and then you have Sandwich Road, so I think it would just be a nice addition to that sports complex, and just a nice way to reuse this. I mean, this was kind of a treasured part of the rec center for a long time, so it's great.
The repurposing is kind of nice to connect that. Doug?
I know it was just for illustration, but the picture showed it like in the middle of the woods, but I would guess you're gonna clear all the trees on the field side so parents can see the playground.
Yeah, that's, I don't know if Jeremiah wanted to get up and talk to that, but yeah, it's more of to clear it out.
Exactly, yeah. So they can see their kids, if they're on the jungle gym or if they're on the.
And you'd leave the wooded area between the road and the
Oh, of
playground?
course, yeah.
Right. Sounds good, thanks.
Great. Wonderful.
Plan for some more benches in there for the tired
Yeah.
parents with their kids?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm hearing money. I don't want to go there. Warm.
Well, not just to open it up, when they say benches, we do have, through the Parks Department, there is a bench policy program, so if
Memorial
someone
bench.
wanted to come in and do a bench policy, there's
Donation.
programs that comes with, and it comes with a bronze plate in it, donated by,
Wonderful.
so.
That's a good
Something that could
opportunity.
work,
So
too.
good question. Bring it up early.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much
much.
for thinking about that. It's really great.
Thank you.
Do they need a motion or anything?
Nope, just discussion, and thank you all. Appreciate it. We're going to move now back to voting the articles and executing the warrant for April 2019 town meeting. So the schedule is as follows. Selectmen announce the annual town meeting on Monday, December 3rd, 2018. The warrant will close on January 18, 2019. Selectmen will vote the articles and execute the warrant on Monday, January 28th, 2019. Publish articles only February 1st, which is a Friday, 2019.
Is it February 1st or February 11th? I'm
Oops,
sorry.
did I
No,
skip
I'm
one?
sorry. Nope, you're right. Excuse
Okay.
me.
Presentation on petition articles, Monday, February 11, 2019. Selectmen vote recommendations, Monday, February 25th, 2019. Publish the warrant with recommendations and mail warrant booklets on Friday, March 22nd, 2019, and town meeting on Monday, April 8th, 2019.
Just as a process, I think typically what we do is we just start adding the articles to the warrant.
Yep.
The only articles on here that I had some questions of, petition articles we have to put on, then we have other by committees. But I guess, and this is maybe trying to set you up for our presentation, on Articles 29, 30, and 31, which are the ones having to do with the short-term rentals.
Yep.
Correct.
And certainly my leaning, maybe we'll hear your presentation on it, is that we do not, and I think it's up to us as to whether we actually put those articles in this town meeting.
Yes.
And I would think that we don't, so, but maybe we should start the discussion, and then we can go through page by page.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll be happy to comment on that.
Sure.
I think the board has seen the memorandum prepared by Peter Johnson Staub, and on behalf of Jennifer Petit and myself, regarding, particularly, we were looking at 30, I believe it was 30 and 31, which are the ones that relate to the potential impact fee. And, just in a nutshell, and I welcome Peter and Jennifer's further comments. I think, the memo lays it out very well, I believe, that this is still a work in progress, and it makes great sense, particularly because the impact fee really deals with collection of fees differently than the excise tax does, and the town would be involved in that collection. There are a lot of unanswered questions, information we're still awaiting from the Department of Revenue, and to the extent that those get clarified reasonably timely, that can be brought forward to the November town meeting with the board's concurrence. But we strongly recommend consideration, particularly on that impact fee, that we take the time to get all the information in and thoughtfully package really the entire concept in terms of collection, in terms of what services, if any, would be provided, and how the board might envision really setting those fees aside for what specific purpose or purposes. And of course, as you recall, under the statute, 35% needs to be set aside for affordable housing and infrastructure purposes. But that's 35%, and 65% then is available for other uses. So we think that taking some thoughtful time over the next several months to analyze what is yet to be forthcoming from the state, and working with Jennifer, Peter, and myself and others to determine how best to collect this and what the services would be in consultation with the board would be time well spent. And again, you could take it up in November if those questions were sufficiently articulated, or certainly the following April as well. But that is just 30 and 31. 29 was put on, I think, as a result of the presentation by town council, that you do have that option. Many communities on the Cape, as we know, are at 6%. We're at 4% on the excise tax, and that was brought forward to the extent that the board might want to consider it, or certainly you don't have to consider 6% as opposed to 4. You could consider 5% as opposed to 4, or you could leave it alone. And again, take that up at a later time.
Doug and then Sam?
So, the whole reason that we're doing this short-term rental is to try to level the playing field for the hotels. I feel like if we're not really ready to do the short-term rental tax, I don't think we should increase the hotel tax until we are ready, personally, is my feeling. Because that's the intent of it.
But the short-term rental tax is still happening. This is just an additional community impact fee that is the Articles 30 and 31.
But I think Doug's talking about also increasing, pardon me,
I understand,
Selectman,
right.
from 4 to 6. But I think as Doug Jones is saying, the 4% is going to apply to short-term rentals immediately as well. So that playing field will be level, whether you leave it at 4% or you increase it to 5 or 6.
I see. So you feel like everything's in place for managing that part of the short-term rental tax? You're not?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay.
And we have no choice.
Yes, it's going to happen, period.
Right.
It's part of the statute.
I want to just pick up on something that Mr. Jones said. I think it's on the impact fee, I think it's going to be important to have some community impact, because in order for it to be successful, it's one of those things that we're better together in terms of, being a tourism-based community in terms of finances in a lot of respects. It's something, I want to really appreciate his bringing that up, and I think that's something that we want folks to have a time to kind of feed in on. And Peter, did you have a comment before Sam goes forward?
Just the clarification that the difference between the collection process is very clear in that all of the elements of the rooms tax are collected by the state, except the community impact fee, which would be paid only by the short-term rentals. All the other elements are paid by hotels, short-term, everybody, and they're collected by the state. So that's where there's really an increased, burden on the municipality, where we're going to have to develop our own collection system. And there's also the data is much less uncertain. We have no idea how many properties are going to register and what revenue we might generate on short-term rentals. On all the others, we have good history.
Right. Sam?
Yeah, I just want us to be careful. Our state reps and senators have really worked very hard on this, and they've given us an opportunity to actually generate some additional revenues. We've got needs that are not being met, and that's clear to me. And I don't want to see us, kick this can down the road so far that we don't actually respond to the needs that this community has and try to actually meet those needs. So I don't have any problem with delaying this, but I want us to be coming back very prepared to fill some of the holes that haven't been filled for quite some time. So I'm going to challenge you to come back with a really good, strong argument on how we can invest these revenues for the benefit of the town, because that's how I look at it. And I don't want us to delay this too long. I appreciate what you're saying, there's some uncertainties, but a lot of hard work has been put in place to provide revenues to the Cape for its specific needs because we are this tourist industry and have this turnover. And, you know, we certainly have staffing needs that should be addressed by some of these impact fees.
If I could just interject, Madam Chair.
Please.
And Peter Johnson Staub has a couple of slides to show, but I do want to just acknowledge, I appreciate Selectman Patterson's issues he's raised. Our whole point is to come back to you with more definitive information than we have now. Right now, it is so speculative and so many moving parts that there's a greater likelihood of stepping in the bucket or tripping and falling without this additional information, which we should have on the basis of hopefully either 6 months, since this doesn't begin until July 1, or slightly more time to be certain that we're bringing you enough information to make an informed decision. And that's really what we're attempting to do.
Megan, can I just, and I think just to add to what I think Sue was saying, you know, that also needs to be balanced with some input and communication with the community, because, you know, we are a tourist-based, you know, economy for the most part. This will impact our businesses and the people who visit us. So to be able to have a little bit of time to get some feedback from the community, I think would be helpful as well. You know, just, and for them to have some education on this new piece, which is going to be something different for them as well.
And on that, I want to really acknowledge, we do have the Chair of Finance Committee also here with a late night getting some information, so that's much appreciated as well. Please.
So I would just point out that already we're increasing the tax by 2.75% by statute. And that's for the current people who are being taxed. For the people who aren't being taxed, we're already increasing theirs by, I guess, the 6.75% no matter what.
Right.
And so that's already increased for them. To then increase that by potentially 2% more, and then another 3% is a huge jump for those people. And I would rather do that step by step and say, okay, we know the 6.75% is automatic this year. Let's get the information, figure out where we're going to put the resource we do before we jump it up, and instead of saying going from a 0% to potentially 12% increase.
But you're talking about just sort of increasing these revenues without any thought as to how they're going to be invested. That 2.75% is supposed to go to wastewater treatment. We've got huge needs in that area. So this is giving us some source of funds to actually start making some progress a little bit more quickly. So I don't like is, oh, we're just increasing taxes for the sake of increasing taxes. We're not.
We don't have a choice about it. We're not increasing the taxes. The state has statuted for good reason.
Absolutely. But nobody's talking about that. I mean, this huge wastewater treatment problem that we have, this money's going to go to very useful needs that are going to help to preserve the environment that we all respect and enjoy here, that's been degrading consistently since I've lived here.
And that decision has been made. Doug?
Well, just for future thought, while we're thinking about the community impact, I think, to me, it's obvious that what the impact is that there's less rentals available in Falmouth. So my first thought would be that maybe we'd create some sort of a fund to build affordable rentals.
And there is that allocation of 35% right off the bat. So you bring out a very important point.
Right.
Peter?
Yeah, Selectman Doug Jones covered most of what I wanted to say, and I'm not here to argue, for or against the tax increases. I thought it might be helpful to put this slide up just for context. So this, as Doug Brown said, this is about, in large measure, leveling the playing field. So what's the biggest change for Falmouth is that the short-term rentals, which won't affect affordable housing directly, so this tax will not apply to any rental for more than 30 days at a time. So a month-to-month renter is not going to be paying this rooms tax.
That's not how I meant it.
Okay. So in terms of just, again, context for the impact on the side of those who are paying, those who are engaged in short-term rentals right now are going from a 0% tax to a 12.45% tax. So that's their annual impact. We're potentially looking at another 3 on top of that. And then, as was already pointed out, in terms of the hotels and motels, they're now paying 9.7, and they're automatically paying that additional 2.75% for the Water Improvement Fund for a very important purpose for, and which the need is much greater than that 2.75 is going to generate.
Absolutely.
So, is that correct? The short-term rentals is, I think it's 6.75, and the 12.45 is what the hotels pay. Is that right?
No.
No. No, the short-term rentals will pay the exact same as the
12.45.
as the hotels and motels. The
Okay.
12.45% is going to be paid by everybody.
Okay.
It's what's new. The only thing that's new for the hotels and motels is that water improvement tax of 2.75%.
Right.
That's paid by everybody, short-term and hotels.
You know, the 12.45, only 6.75 comes to us.
Right.
Well, it all goes to the state and then comes back to us.
Okay.
Good, very informative. In which case, can I just ask, please? One question, and I know it's really incumbent upon business owners, and they're usually up to date, but we have a lot of sort of somewhat smaller businesses. Do you know if the chamber has done any sort of outreach with this, with any of its members about sort of the impact of this, or even those folks who are doing short-term rentals? Do you know if there's been any kind of public outreach at all? I'm just curious, because we're keyed into it, and we hope most people are, but, you know, as people are getting ready to do their business for the summer, I'm thinking of hotels who have to build that in to their room rates, so that that's not coming off the top, and they're printing their you know, updating the information on websites, printing. I'm just wondering if there's been much outreach from the chamber or the town.
We know that not only the local, but also the Cape Cod, you know, our Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, but also the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce are well aware of this initiative. What I don't know is to what extent there's independent communication with various chamber business members. We're not certain about that.
Okay.
But I suspect it's been significant because this has been talked about for
For a
so
while.
long, and it's not really not a new concept, as you know. The entire board and town meeting, Falmouth has been a champion of this for, you know, a number of years, again, to level the playing field. And, but we'll stand ready to continue to work with the chamber on getting the facts out, and particularly as it relates to the selectmen's decisions on what to place or not place on the warrant.
And I do want to send my appreciation to the town manager's office, who you know, I asked for this to be on the agenda the minute it was news, and they really have stepped up to that and have continued to get the up-to-the-minute information. There is also, just in terms of public knowing, there's some good information on the Department of Revenue site as well, so that's another place to look.
Just wanted to clarify, when I said that the impact fee should go to rental housing, it's because when I say these affordable, I mean, these summer or short-term rentals are more lucrative than renting year-round, and it's easier, so that's why it's taken them out of the
Excellent
year-round
point.
rental.
Yep.
Yeah, very good point.
Absolutely right.
So I'm not sure whether you want to suggest that we have a motion to remove these from the list, or just when we get to them, we don't put them on, we have a motion whether we put them on or not.
Let's do the first, because I think that's clear right now.
So I would move that we remove Articles 30 and 31 from the list.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I would also move that we remove Article 29 from the list. I, at this point, don't want to consider the 4 to 6%, but I saw those as really two very separate discussions.
I would second that.
On discussion on that, I will note Provincetown, I think I read in the newspaper today, went from 4 to 6%. It certainly is an opportunity to address some of the issues that Sam was raising, just in terms of general community needs. And, you know, so for that reason, I think it should have serious consideration. And I think it also goes to your point in terms of doing this step by step so that the community can kind of get used to it. It's kind of, we're already set up to do it. There's not any more administrative effort. It's something that the town manager certainly has been asking for a while. We've got, you know, lots of initiatives on our plate that we've got to figure out how to fund. So that's something, I do see it a little differently.
I see it very differently, too. And I think it's actually come up either 2 or 3 times previously at town meeting as to whether we increase it from 4 to 6%, because we've had this option, I think, since 1986.
Yeah.
And the other issue is that there isn't a requirement to go from 4 to 6. It's something that could be tempered, for example, to go to 5%.
And we could make that decision tonight as to, since it's our article, and I would suggest if we're inclined to do that in the original article as opposed to amending it later.
Absolutely right. And I think that would give a better flow for this entire piece of legislation that we're working in, that is going to take some time to put together, and I think we've got to start somewhere. Sam?
Yeah, I just want to remind us that we're looking at beaches disappearing. If we're talking about impact fees, it's going to be impacting our tourist trade if we start seeing degradation of the very thing that's bringing people here. If we don't start investing in some of this remediation and beach nourishment, we're going to suffer long-term. And that's what this is designed to do. This is Cape Cod related, right? And I want to see us remember, let's try to preserve Cape Cod with this kind of investment.
So we have a motion on the table to delete entirely Article 29. All those in favor? 2. Does not carry. I'm going to make the second motion that we increase from 4 to 5% and that we just change the article as printed in that regard. Is there a second?
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's 3 in favor of changing from 4 to 5%. I'm surprised, Sam, that was going to give you some more money.
I think you wanted the 6.
Not giving it to me.
That could be.
You didn't read the fine print, I guess.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I just
Please.
interject? You have another article that's on your proposed Article 26 that the petitioner has emailed today and asked that it be withdrawn. That's by Mr. Swag.
I saw that.
Yep.
And so you may, if you. may
Is
want
that
to
timely,
deal with
according
that
to town
one.
council?
Frank Duffy, Town Council, I believe it is. If you know the background, it's a repetitive petition of a zoning article. A repetitive petition cannot be presented to town meeting or acted upon town meeting unless the planning board has a positive recommendation. So Mr. Bott, who's the town planner, advised Mr. Zweig of that and told him he would have to come up with the fees to pay for the publication of all the notices for the hearings, and he would risk having an adverse decision and it couldn't be acted upon by town meeting. So based upon that, he's asked that it be withdrawn.
Do we need, Town Council, do we need a motion on that?
I think.
Or is it by the petitioner?
I think we just don't put it in.
Just don't put it in.
Just don't put it on.
Thank you, that's what I thought.
Okay.
So that would be as to Article 26. What's next?
Start from the
I would move we add Articles 1 through 8 to our warrant.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I would move we add Articles 9 through 17 to our warrant.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess I'm going to go through all the articles, and I'm actually okay with the numbering the way it is, but after we've done it, if we have suggestions of numbering changes, I would suggest we do that afterwards.
At the end.
Great.
Sounds good.
I would move that we add Articles 18 through 22 to the warrant.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I would move we add Articles 23 through 25 to the warrant.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I would now move that we add Articles now numbered 26, now numbered Article 27, and now Article 28 to the warrant.
Didn't we just say we were gonna delete 26?
No?
We deleted 26, you should be
We did.
27
renumbering.
becomes 26.
Right.
Oh,
Yes,
excuse me.
renumbering.
He was
Yeah.
Renumbering, that's so that,
Okay.
that one just is vacated.
I would second. Or I think Sam did.
And do we have to mention that we're changing 4 to 5 at the same time on 28?
No, because you had already made that as the...
As the first, okay, got it.
And we just have to
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I would now move that we add Article 29, which was 32, 30, which was 33, 31, which was 34, 32, which was 35, and 33, which is 36.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm not going to do the math, just the articles that were 37 through 46, I'm going to suggest that, or move that we add them as Articles 34 through 43.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And
One
finally,
last.
Article 44, the one that was Article 47.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I actually thought that the grouping of these made a lot of sense. All the CPC articles, which there are quite a few of them, were together.
Yep.
And the petitioner articles seemed to make sense where they were in juxtaposition to some of the board articles. The only other one that I had one question of, and I guess I should have mentioned at the time, was the one that's now Article 33. No, sorry, the one that's now Article 30. It was 33. And I'm not sure we can change this, but it lists it on the request of the Shivrix Pond Working Group. And all the other ones that come as a request of groups or committees suggest that they are town-appointed committees. And don't know how we deal with this because it's a petitioner article, but it is not coming, the Shivrix Pond Working Group is not a committee or group that we or the town has formed. It's just a private group.
That's an informal group.
We happen to have town council right in the audience, conveniently. What do you think about this?
Isn't it kind of academic because it's Paul Dreyer that's the petitioner?
Well, I have seen it. It does have the requisite number of signatures to be added to the warrant, and that's how it comes in as a petitioner's article.
I think his question is about how who the petitioner is, I think is what Selectman Jones is referencing.
Well, the group, I don't think is an official group. It has to be an individual.
So do you want to drop that reference, just say it's on petition of Paul Dreyer?
I'm just not sure whether we can do that, because can we amend a petitioner's, what they write in their petition?
No, we traditionally do not do that.
It seems that it's petition of Paul Dreyer. It says that at the end. The mention of Shivrix Pond Working Group is just informational. I don't see any harm.
I would agree with that. What do you think, Frank?
I think that's possible, sure.
Can we, okay.
So
It'd be a-
leave it as printed, no foul here.
Be incumbent on them in the explanation to provide
Who they
who the
are.
members
Yeah,
are.
when they present it, they'll have to explain all of that at the town meeting. Nobody's being deceived by it.
Right, I mean,
Mr. Dwyer, do you have any question about that, since you're here?
Yeah, is that a real group?
Wait, he's gonna lie and you're gonna swear to it, is that what you're?
I see what's going on.
Welcome.
Excuse me, Paul Dreyer, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2.
We wanted to make it worth your while to stay here this long.
I was going to go home. The working group for Shivrix Pond was appointed by the town manager, and Tom Bott is a liaison. These are individuals who are volunteering their time. To put this petition in, it can't be signed by a town employee. So on behalf of the working group, I signed it and submitted the petition in my name because there has to be someone from the town. That's why it was done that way,
But you
otherwise.
just wanted to credit the working group too.
Yes.
I actually completely take back any objection. I didn't realize that it was a
I want to
manager
clarify,
appointed.
I didn't take any official action to appoint members to a working group. Paul and I had a conversation. I understand that he was asking that individuals come together to discuss this, which I'm certainly perfectly comfortable with. But I did ask Town Planner Tom Bott to sit in to assist if there were anything that he could assist with. But I just want to be cautious, because as the board knows, I have, at your request, appointed official working groups as a town manager in the past, but I did not take an official action to appoint specific individuals to a working group here.
Yeah.
But you're happy to acknowledge and support the good work of Paul Dreyer and others.
Ms. Braga?
And I just think, you know, there's no copyright on the word working group. I understand
right.
we generally use it to mean it's a group has some connection kind of to the town manager or the board. But I think it's just, I think, a point that you're hearing from us that at town meeting, whatever presentation is done, it'd be helpful for folks to know that it was a group of individuals that got together and had some communications with town manager and you know, not an official group, because then some folks are gonna wonder why that wasn't on an agenda.
It does seem like there's lack of clarity.
Right.
Because Mr. Dreyer just said it was upon the request of the town manager appointed, and the town manager saying that isn't the case. So I think there does need to be clarity as to why this committee exists, or why this group exists.
The bottom line is I'll be pleased to make a presentation on what the activities are on the 11th, if invited by the Board of Selectmen to do that.
Perfect. And I think maybe if you had any question on the details, certainly town council could answer any questions.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your efforts in that regard. And so we're good with that? Done, ready to move on?
I think that was it for the petitioners.
I think so.
Great.
Yep, we're good to go.
Great.
The only other point I'll make on the warrant is a large majority of these articles are on our request. And so I think this is a town meeting that we are going to have a lot of work to do to make sure that we present the information either through the town manager, through administration, or on our own to the town meeting as to why these articles are important.
You know, in that regard, as an agenda item
Yes.
next, I wonder if we can start fleshing that out and give selectmen an opportunity to look at the articles on our behalf in a little more detail, so we can direct staff in terms of background information we might want, and also to get ready for precinct meetings and what might be helpful. Thank you both for coming. So, you know, just in terms of if there are precinct members who might have questions, I want to invite folks now to send us their concerns or questions, because it will be on the next agenda that makes sense in terms of the staff's planning. Perfect. Anybody else? Okay. Because we do have a really important topic coming up. Next is the discussion on selectmen's names. And, you know, I just want to give a little bit of background, because I want to credit Pam Rothstein, who I think was the first person to raise this question, and both to me personally and in an enterprise letter to the editor. And then I had Attorney Laura Moynihan give this to me a long time ago as, I think, some kind of a hint for a future agenda item. And then I remember reading the Charter Review Committee's, the summary in the Enterprise of Mr. Jones' interview, where I think you brought it up. So maybe you should kick off this agenda item, because I think you already had some good ideas on the subject.
Well, my suggestion's out there. It's thinking outside the box. I'd rather create a new word called selector, which I think exists just as little as select people exists. And the reason I would like the word selector is it has no gender specificity whatsoever. We could then be the Board of Selectors. We could have a chair of the Board of Selectors. And, well, the fact that the word doesn't exist, I don't think should stop us.
It sounds very Latin, so I think
It really does.
I think it sounds Star Wars.
Sounds like we're selecting things, though,
Yeah.
instead of being selected.
Sam.
The only, I want to see us change the name. That's not my, but I am concerned about the connection to the state constitution and regulations, because selectmen, Massachusetts Municipal Association, Cape Cod Selectmen and Councilors Association, there's a connection to the state constitution. And I don't want to see that severed, because it talks about the kind of government that we have in this town.
We might get kicked out of the meetings.
Well, there's a
I'm not
vote for
worried about that.
tradition.
Disqualified.
I'm not worried about that.
There's a vote against an invention and a vote for tradition.
I've been practicing in my emails and communications. The Select Board has recommended,
Yeah.
or the Select Board has agreed, and I don't know why we can't just call ourselves the select board or.
What's one individual called?
Person. Select board.
Select person.
See, I don't like, this person is just as sexist to me as chairman.
Really?
Son?
Select person?
Yep, son, if you take a look at the etymology of it, having the word son in person is actually etymologically just as sexist as having man. And if you actually take a look down to the Latin roots of both words, man of chairman has nothing to do with a gender specificity. It has to do with coming from the earth. And if you want to go select per child, that would be okay. But that's idiotic.
How about selectmen and select woman and select board?
I just don't, to have gender in it, I see no reason for it.
What did Amherst do? Because, I mean, they crusaded really hard to change the name, and did. And what did they end up with?
I'll have to look it up. I thought it was select board.
That's what I thought, too.
Well, by whatever name, my view is the force is with you.
I like select bot. I mean, that sounds really.
You know
Selectron?
Yeah, Selectron. I mean,
What if
select member? I mean, it's.
What if we put it to, it's a shame Ms. Dorr just left, because what if we put it to a challenge of the next generation and maybe asked for suggestions from, folks and took this up for a vote at the next meeting?
I agree with that.
And we
think
can't
it's
be
worth thinking
counselors
about.
because that would have to be a city, right?
Yeah,
correct?
that does have a specific meaning. So, if there are students of language, you want to make suggestions, you got to do a little bit of research, I think.
What's the prize?
you
The
get to be
notoriety.
whatever we call this.
Exactly, you get to be the one
selector.
who, helped make this, this long overdue change.
Madam Chair, could I ask a
Please.
question? Are we anticipating that the Charter Review Committee is going to have a recommendation on this? And is that,
I think that they
the
are.
board would be weighing in with a suggestion?
That's
To
a great,
influence them?
that's a
think
great
that's-
I'm
point.
assuming they are. I don't know what that's going to be.
That's where it should be changed, in the charter.
In the charter, well, yeah, I think it would need
have
to
to be.
be.
It would have to be.
Yeah,
So I wasn't sure
Yeah.
whether
No,
any
I-
action this board would take would be a
Advisory.
suggestion
Yeah,
to the Charter
advisory.
Review Committee, or maybe you're going in a different direction.
Peter, did you have that answer?
Well, just that there are actually two different ways to do it. I have heard from other communities, I've heard some discussion of this, and there are some that have gone the path of a legal change, where you do have to scrub all of the documents and change all of the references. There are others that have simply just made it a practice, so they haven't gone back and changed the bylaws or the charter. The old Board of Selectmen remains, but by practice, it is referred to in
Going
common
forward.
parlance and documents, and even on letterhead, as select board and select person, or
Selectees,
whatever terminology you choose.
select that.
So there are two different ways to go there.
Well, I do think it's part of the charter review, and certainly it was part of Doug's interview. I don't know if
I
anybody
think I
else.
was at.
Yeah.
you were-
Yes, Ms.
we
Hall.
didn't s-
Yeah.
So, I guess what we could simply say is that the Board of Selectmen is, taking the position that we're open to a change, and see if what the charter review committee might recommend.
I think you'd even say we're encouraging the change.
Yeah, that we
Happy to give it a
recognize
try.
there's a need for change and maybe get some feedback from Charter Review.
And then decide formal or colloquial, as Peter suggested. Good. All right, then, if nothing more on that, we do have minutes of meetings. We have the Monday, January 14
Yes.
public session.
Madam Chair, I just saw one change on page 8. It's just I think, a typo. Oh, if you come up from the bottom, there's Malcolm, and then there's a paragraph that starts with Malcolm Donald. And at the I guess it's next to the last line, it says, Mr. Donald asked if there is any recourse for citizens if they want to address, and it says disuse, but I think it's issue. It's kind of hard to figure that out, but that's my interpretation.
That's what yes, that's what he was asking. He was
Issue.
asking,
So just that
about-
one change, and otherwise, I
Okay.
found it substantially correct, and I move that we approve and release it.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Individual selectmen's reports. Mr. Brown?
Well, busy couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I guess, or a week and a half ago, I went with, I don't know if I reported on this, but have we had a meeting since I went to the State House with Gary Anderson and the Rod and Gun Club?
No.
Have I told you that?
No.
Well, we went and met with Secretary of Environmental Affairs, Matthew Beaton, and we asked if he would consider releasing $1.1 million from the environmental bond bill to supplement the work being done to restore the Farley Bog by the Rod and Gun Club. He, of course, wasn't completely committal, but he seemed very interested, and he asked a lot of questions and took a lot of notes, and he asked pointed questions about the funding and sources and so forth, which made me think he was very interested. So I'm very hopeful that he'll find some way to help us, and he had some other creative ideas that perhaps some of the coastal resiliency part would be funded through other grants, so it was a good meeting. I felt very positive about it. Afterwards, Dave Vieira took us for a tour of the State House. And what an incredibly impressive building. I hadn't been inside it before.
Oh, my.
All the marble columns and the beautiful construction. And then we were lucky enough that it just happened to be Deborah Goldberg swearing in, and the governor was just about to speak, and we got to sit in the balcony and watch the whole thing, and it was really fun. That was it for that meeting. It was a good time. This week, I attended the wake and funeral for Tommy Leonard, and it was a really Julian was there with his wife Stephanie, and it was really well done. Dave Jarvis spoke very touchingly about his time with Tommy, and then one of Tommy's friends from the pub in Boston where they both worked together also gave a really nice talk. A lot of people shared a lot of stories, and it was really nice. And then we went to the what's it called now, Bucatino's, and Sue gave a very nice talk about what Tommy's done for Falmouth. So he was well remembered and appreciated. As you probably saw, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I attended a Veterans Council meeting a week and a half ago where they have put their package together, where they are going to come to us in the future and ask for us to consider them to use the Senior Center building. And they've made a very strong case, and I can't wait till you get to see it.
That, we're going to be discussing that on the first February meeting.
Okay.
Look on the agenda for that item.
Great. What was the last thing? Peter Johnson-Staub and I met with Judy Fenwick again and making more progress with the Welcome to Falmouth Handbook to Local Government, Fenwick Guide to Government. So we're plugging along. It's kind of slow going. There's a lot of reading and thinking and editing, but we're getting along. And happy to report that I mentioned earlier quickly that I had sent a note to Julian that leaning pole on Thomas Landers was still leaning. They actually came out and put a cable on it, and it looks pretty secure now. It's still kind of crooked, but I don't think it's going to fall over anytime soon, so I was happy about that. And that's
Thanks
it.
for that.
Thank you.
Sam?
Yes, went to the school committee meeting recently. The article in here is about security cameras, and there's definitely a need for some of that. It's compounded by the fact that at least at the high school it's pretty good coverage, but construction on the new multi-sport field is going to begin as soon as the weather actually clears up. There was a kickoff meeting. I was very impressed with the owner's project manager. She was really on top of everything. She had all the milestones, all the coordination. She had all the telephone numbers ready to present to the contractor. And I really came away from there with the confidence that we really have a project that's going to be tightly and well managed. So that was a good experience at the kickoff meeting. Glad to report on that progress. I attended the Massachusetts Municipal Association annual meeting. I think it was the only select person to actually get there. Now, I understand all the conflicts in everybody's life because it has been a busy 2 weeks. We had presentations by Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, new Senate Chair Karen Spilka spoke. Senators Moakley and Warren came in on Friday, and very convincingly, explained how our superior education program has generated the kind of economic vitality that Boston has had. Talked about why working together in a bipartisan way has just reaped tremendous benefits in Massachusetts because it's a collaborative effort And here you're talking about a Republican governor working with essentially a Democratic legislature and federal delegation. But it was quite convincing, but at least I wanted to mention that Governor Baker had forecast to us that he was going to be encouraging more local aid, and most recent reports on his draft budget indicate that he's keeping his word. So we're looking forward to some support. I did vote on your behalf at the annual meeting on Saturday morning, but there were a couple of resolutions which I know got circulated to all of us, but one of them really was an encouraging of increased local aid, and particularly in the area of Chapter 70 for education to help offset the growing healthcare costs that keep going up at much higher rates, and the circuit breaker, which is the special needs subsidy, which is really supposed to cover the special needs, but has never been fully funded by the state. And then also Chapter 90, which is the infrastructure, roads, and what have you, and then undesignated local aid, which allows us to invest the funds. So all those things were in that resolution, encouraging the state to actually be, and particularly the legislature, to be a little bit more generous in sponsoring local efforts. It was a really good meeting. A lot of good things came up, including a lot of special workshops, and one of them was on the new 5G cell phone communication architecture, which is being rolled out in other urban areas. So we really need to look and see what's happening there, because we want tourists and new young people, when they come to town, to be able to access the latest technology. And I don't think we should underestimate, this is 21st century infrastructure that we need to place a priority on. But I did attend the workshop where I learned some particulars about what that infrastructure would look like in terms of our streetscapes. And I think we should keep a forward look and think about that, because it's happening everywhere else in the world. And in fact, the United States is actually a little bit slow compared to Canada and some of the Western countries in Europe. And not to mention Asia, where it's already in place. One of the most uplifting events was the No Place for Hate Martin Luther King breakfast, and Julian was there, and a very inspiring speaker, and it was just nice to be among that community and see that there were 300 people that attended, and you have all this support for, human rights and human support. It was just really a great occasion. I'm just thankful to be able to go to that. Then we had our joint meeting on Saturday, and I just gave a civics lesson to that group of scouts that you just saw before our meeting started as part of their Cub Scout requirement. So that's it.
Hey, Megan. Just briefly, I was able to meet with the Charter Review Committee today, actually before this meeting, and I came a little bit early, so I got to sit in on some of their brainstorming, and they really, I think, are going to have an impressive product and, to share at the end, because they are definitely working really diligently to just kind of go through everything and get as much input as possible. So I just encourage folks to connect with them if they haven't already, if they are thinking about some of the issues that we've talked about tonight, whether it's how you address this board or more structural ways that this town is governed. So just they're doing great work. And I was also able to attend the No Place for Hate Martin Luther King Day breakfast, and it was just a great event. We had individuals from the town administration, we had our police chief there, and just a number of students from Falmouth Academy also attended with some of their teachers. I think actually I saw more young people there this year than I have in past years, which was really wonderful. And they were recognizing, No Place for Hate, Falmouth was recognizing the efforts of Cape Cod Pride, Inc., which has really just in the last couple of years raised the issue around LGBTQ rights and awareness, and started really here in Falmouth by having that Cape Cod Pride Day. So it was wonderful to sort of celebrate that and to just look at where all that work is going in the future.
Too.
Yeah, it's a great event. It's going to be in Hyannis this year because they're trying to make it a little bit bigger and bridge some other towns on the Cape. But certainly a lot of the individuals who work on it are right here in our community. So It was a wonderful event, and everybody showed up, even though it was, I think, 5 degrees. And
Great job
and an ice
moderating the
skating
event
rink.
as
That's what I was
well.
gonna just
Oh,
add.
oh,
You
thank
did
you.
an outstanding
Oh, thank you.
moderator.
No, it was
Well
a
done.
huge honor to be asked to do that, and they make it easy. Nell Fields and everybody else really make it easy, Elias. So just another one of those touchstones in the community. That's a great event.
Here,
So.
here.
Thank you for that. I just want to remark on the joint meeting that we did on Saturday. It always amazes me that all of the committee members come up and just go, wow, we got so much out of this, and really, really enjoy it. And I think that it does fast forward a number of projects, and we really highlighted this year, the town manager sort of staff committees that start early on anticipating issues and then finding answers to them. So the whole joint meeting project that the selectmen have been doing for quite a while now really, I think, is really got a lot of airspeed and is really at peak level of productivity. And I just want to ask any committee members, chairs, if you do have things that you want to collaborate with other boards on, please send an email to the chair of the Board of Selectmen. We will put the meeting together at the next scheduled opportunity. We'll invite the related committees and keep moving forward. I just think it's, it's a tough thing to do on a Saturday morning, but really worked out well. Doug?
On your mentioning email, is it time yet that we start advertising our new email addresses, or is that getting close to it?
Only when you get them.
Okay.
Right, and the IT should be reaching out to you and other members of the board imminently, if it hasn't happened
I think
late
it-
I got a
this afternoon.
survey.
I think we got this
So
afternoon.
that's, that's unfolding and
So next week.
in the coming week.
It's
yeah.
funny, I'm starting to get people saying, I tried to email you at your new address and something's wrong with
So
it.
right now, it's still the old email address,
I know.
Right.
and then for a while, it'll be both email addresses that will
Right.
work.
Right.
Correct, either one will work for transition time.
Mr. Suso?
Are they going to, on that same subject, are they going to tell us exactly what our new
They will.
email
Yes,
combination is?
that'll be part of their outreach to you. They'll
Okay, great.
confirm that
Thanks.
with you.
Because we'll have to create a whole new login, right? Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, there's a whole new process.
Okay.
But we want to reassure people that they can continue to use the present email address for a fairly long transition time to make certain that we don't miss anything. So there'll be a work
Till
in
June or
progress.
something, right?
Yes, I think mid-year, I think.
We
is,
don't have a firm cutoff, but it's absolutely not going to be right away. We'll,
Oh, okay, good. Mr. Suso?
Well, thank you. Just to supplement a couple items, this past Thursday evening, was pleased to attend the second meeting of the Route 28 Citizens Committee. I know we commented on that, had a brief report at our Saturday morning meeting, as members of the board are aware. And with the able assistance of Ray Jack, the group's making significant progress in their mission to recommend to the board a suggested compromise road layout for that section of the roadway from the school administration building into East Falmouth. On Saturday, February 2nd, this coming Saturday, the committee plans to have a site visit to the roadway corridor to review specific conditions firsthand. But it's going to be specifically a site visit, possibly to be followed by a brief meeting. They will be posting that should a meeting be held. I was pleased to attend, as noted, the annual Massachusetts Municipal Association Conference Friday and Saturday, January 18th and 19th. My colleague Peter joined me as well. And it was my honor to represent the town in terms of the activities related to the tribute to Tommy Leonard over the past week as well. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson-Stott?
I guess I would just note that MMA conference is always wonderful, great to informally talk to colleagues and vendors. On the state aid front, we did receive the cherry sheet, and it looks like when you add it all up, including Chapter 70 and all the school revenues, as well as the town and the charges, we're seeing a net reduction of over $100,000. So not any great good news there, not something that's going to throw things wildly out of whack in the scheme of things, but it's certainly not an increase, not a big increase of any sort.
And just to interject, that's related to the reevaluation of state property in the town of Falmouth that affected us
Right.
a year ago, and we sort of had a one-year reprieve with the help of Senator DiMacedo.
Right.
But the second year around, it has that impact. Peter, I didn't mean to step on your toes. If you had a...
Nope,
I
that's
did
it.
have one thing that I overlooked, Madam
Please.
Chair, if I may.
No,
Also
no,
at-
nope, you lose your chance.
I get a second
Bye,
bite?
that's-
It's
go
good
for it.
news. At the MMA conference to which we just referred, I just wanted to note that Public Works Department was acknowledged as part of a consortium in Barnstable County with the Workplace Safety Award, and Deputy Public Works Director Peter McConerty joined Sam and I at that luncheon, and we were pleased to have the town acknowledged for its important role in that award from again, that's the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, of which we are a part. So I want to pass that along as well.
Would you, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, just send a little note that it was announced and we really appreciate their efforts in achieving that recognition?
Certainly, will do.
I know,
Agreed?
had one more thing I wanted to mention, I don't have.
We are gonna, just have the
Cut me
one-way
off.
rule.
Oh, okay, well, forget it then. I don't want to tell you. anyway.
Now I'm curious. Okay, edge of my
No,
seat.
Go ahead.
The county dredge did try to mobilize to Falmouth and
Right.
redo their schedule and try to help us. But again, they had more mechanical and problems, and I don't know if it was all mechanical or help also, but we ended up not getting our dredging done in a couple of really critical places.
I think ultimately the state denied the time of year waiver, so we didn't, and perhaps because of mechanical issues, the whole thing got delayed, but
Yeah.
the last straw was that the state didn't allow the work to continue.
Right.
So I'm told we're gonna be first on deck, next
spring.
year.
Or next
Next
year.
season,
next
right.
season. I wonder if we should maybe start thinking about mobilizing a couple of guys with a hoisting license and be prepared to have our own crew, so that when their manpower problems become a problem, maybe we can just say, just let us have the dredge. Something to think about for the future, I don't know.
Well, just to interject, if I may, we understand from the county administrator that they are going to explore acquisition of yet another dredge, a smaller, more reliable dredge, and the suggestion was that the manpower issues will also be addressed at the county level, so that presumably this situation will not reoccur. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
And the county administrator is also looking into the Plymouth dredge, which is not all that busy. So there are,
Some other.
the issues that you bring up are important, and they have a sort of a multimodal way to address, that they hope to
Right.
address the problems.
Okay, sounds good.
But there's another impact allocation that we could use those funds for. That's here, we have to deal with it. It's a Cape issue, and it's for tourism too,
Right. Is there a motion?
Move we adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We won't have a problem spending the money once we.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their #1 goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.